What's up, guys? Welcome to the Do Good movement. Our purpose here is to make a positive impact in our society through real-life education. The movement comes into play when you guys share the content to help other people do good just like you. Today, I have a host on the show. I was sitting down with the gentleman on my left just a minute ago, and some breathtaking stuff we're going to talk about. I want to introduce you to George. George was a man that was once legally claimed dead, not once, but 3 different times. And George has some amazing stories, guys, that I think we could all connect with. And he shares the same passion as I do, is to help other people do good and become better than where they are today and reach their maximum potential. So please welcome George.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Dylan. That was an awesome introduction. Yeah, man, helping people is what it's all about, and I hope that we can share some stories today together.
Yes.
And make some impact on some people.
It's amazing. So I want to start with your first injury. I want you to walk us through the story, and just want the audience to hear exactly what happened, and then I want to dive through some questions as we're going through it.
Okay, sounds good. I should probably preface it a little bit then. I'm just a kid who grew up in the dirt,
That's right.
out in a town called Vail, Arizona. We didn't have paved roads or nothing, man. So we really didn't have anything to do. We just grew up creating our own fun, So as that transpired, we kind of started getting into motorsports a little bit, like quads and different things, going to the dunes and stuff like that. And we had a really good time doing all that stuff. And when I reached about, I think it was 12 years old or so, one of the kids in the neighborhood came over to my house with a 2-wheel dirt bike, something that I kind of had never seen before, right? And I go, dude, that thing is so cool. Can I ride it? And he's like, no. You can't ride, but you can sit on it. And so I sat on it and rolled down this little hill
I didn't start it.
Yeah, I didn't start. I just rolled down this little hill a 12-year-old. He doesn't want to break the rules. But anyway, so I was hooked, right? And so I started asking my parents if I could get a dirt bike. And then I think, maybe a year later or something, my dad came home with my own dirt bike for me. And a kid that grew up in the dirt, we didn't have that kind of stuff. So I was like, dude, this is the best thing ever. This is so cool. And kind of just went from there. Most kids that reach a professional status on a dirt bike or a motorcycle, you pay attention to Supercross and motocross, they start from a very young age. So I was already way past that. I was almost 13 when I started racing dirt bikes. And going through that time, I had to kind of fast forward it because I wanted to be a professional. So by the time I was just after my 18th birthday, I turned pro. Or no, right before my 18th birthday, I turned pro. So in a span of 6 years, I was able to, just race and be a good rider. And so during that time, I learned a lot, and that's what we're going to get into, I think, today probably is I broke so many bones along the way because I was on the fast track, right? I had to ride above and beyond my capabilities to go as fast as everybody else.
Yeah.
So that wasn't just breaking bones, it was a tutorial in life, because now I'm pushing past what everybody else was doing to get to the goal that I had. So it was really, really monumental for me to be able to learn those things at such a young age and not even know it.
How much time did you have?
What do you mean time that I have?
When were you trying to go pro? You started riding at 12.
I wanted to do it by the time I was 18. Because I didn't want to go past the, your window in motocross is really short.
It is short, yeah.
So I didn't want to go past that and be behind. And I was already behind everybody because the guys that I was battling with were usually 2 years younger than me. So I had to catch up and pass all those guys to be able to succeed or start garnering it as a career.
That's a story in itself.
I know.
Were you practicing almost every day?
As much as I could. I still went to school and stuff. So and I never had to homeschool. I was always public school. So it was a little daunting of a task, but one of the good things, I lived in the dirt. So even if I wasn't on a motocross track, I could still go ride in the street or ride a bicycle or build jumps, whatever it was, live the kid life.
Yeah. And was that one of your goals, to go professional in motocross?
That's
what you're shooting for?
Yeah, exactly. So even when we were about 15, 16 years old, we were making good money. Like, I would race every weekend. Well, I would say maybe at least 3 times a month. And they have what's this thing called contingency, where you make money from the manufacturers. They give you money to like buy parts and stuff through them. So it's kind of like a Suzuki bucks is what they called it at the time.
Right.
And on a 80, I would race the 80 expert class, a bigger class, the 125 intermediate class, and the 250 intermediate class, all on one bike, because that's all we could afford. And I'd win. I'd sweep the weekend.
Wow.
So I'd come home with anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a weekend.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
this is just a little kid. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
know what I was doing. And we would just put everything back into the program because we couldn't afford to do the program ourselves.
That's amazing.
So
Were you paying attention much at school at that time when you were cashing those kind of checks, or you're just like, I'm set out to do this, which is trying to get through this?
So you got to look at it 2 ways. First of all,
Okay.
like, school was the most important thing for my family, my parents and everybody.
Okay.
But there was no money to be saved. It was all going back into the program, right? So everything went into parts, and then all of the extra money that my dad had would go to fuel and things to get to the races. So everything was being utilized. There was no dividends being kept.
Yeah.
So, but the schoolwork was really, it was a main focus for sure. And I always talk to the kids whenever we talk with kids as well. And it's always going to be the most important thing. I hated school with a passion.
Right.
I hated it.
Same here.
And I couldn't stand it. But I realize now, at an older age, the reason I hated it so much is because I just wanted to go and do stuff. Like, I wanted to be out there doing it, not learning it. But now I'm, since we're older, I really understand that you have to go through it to learn it.
That's right.
To do it. So I did really well in school. In fact, another little side story is I was supposed to skip from 7th grade and go straight into high school and skip a grade because I was excelling in the classes and stuff like that. And at the end of the summer break in 7th grade, I crashed on my bicycle and I hit my head. And that was the first time I broke my back, actually. So
Wow.
fun fact, I've broken every major bone in my body except for my humerus. It's crazy, right?
And after 7th grade, so when you broke your back, you had the ambition to get back on a bike?
Yes. Well, that was just on a pedal bike is when I hit my face. And I got really scratched up and stuff. And some of the images were pretty disturbing. And they got passed around. And someone at school, one of the administrators or something, saw it. And they go, hey, we just processed all this paperwork for this kid to bypass 8th grade. It might not be the best idea. So they had me test again, and I couldn't pass it. So I had to stay back and do all that stuff again. So it was kind of crazy because you learn a lot during those things, right? It's not the fact that they made me stay back. It's the fact that they showed me that I couldn't push forward. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, racing motocross, like, I'm going forward. I'm doing my best, right? And then somebody else has the ability to hold me back. And I can't control that. That was a massive learning thing for me. And that happens in business all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many times have you gone to a meeting and somebody says, no, so-and-so is not going to let me do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's things that happen, and if it's business or in our personal life, that's no matter how hard you work, it's outside of your control.
And that was really hard for me to grasp. Really hard for me to grasp. Like, I didn't like it that somebody else could do that. And I don't know how old you are in 7th grade. What are you, 13 or something?
12 or 13, yeah.
So I learned that at a young age that I didn't want to have somebody being able to control what I do or my vertical. So yeah, So
what do you do after that?
At that point, I just focused. I said, you know what? This is probably going to be a better idea if I have the opportunity to just control everything that I'm doing and just focus on being a professional motocrosser. So I stuck with all of the things that I had to do in school. I still got straight A's, but I did the bare minimum and the bare minimum classes so that I didn't have to let anybody or give anybody the opportunity to hold me back from achieving that one goal of being a pro motocross racer. So I could just, I don't want to say breeze through it because it was still hard, right?
Right.
But I could get through it without anybody changing.
Yeah. Did your parents know that was the objective? Like at school is important, very important to them, and it was kind of like, hey, I'm going to take my foot off the gas just a little bit here and put a little bit more focus on that main goal of riding motocross?
They knew I wanted to focus on the main goal. And to be honest, I don't know if I can answer that question. I don't know what they thought about the education. They probably saw good grades and just said, okay.
Yeah.
You know, but I think for the most part, when you're, you're a parent and you see the kid putting effort into something, it's a little easier to swallow, right? So they saw that I had such drive to get to the goal of being a professional dirt bike racer that nothing else really mattered. But they were always scared and instilled it in me that could go away really easy if you get hurt.
Yeah. Wow. And so you broke your back. How long was that recovery? When did you start, getting back into it? Was everything working the way you wanted it to work?
Yeah, so the first time I broke my back was in 7th grade, and that was fine. Like, I just cracked a vertebrae and got back to work. But so fast forward, going through school and all that stuff, I had achieved my goal of being a professional dirt bike racer. And in 2019, I was able to race, I think, 4 or 5 supercrosses, and did fairly well. I just went with one of the local guys that was near me. I just hopped in with him, or my dad took me or something. And I raced in Seattle, Phoenix. No, it was 3. So I raced in Phoenix, Seattle, and Dallas. And did decent. I was able to make the show and stuff like that. And I was pretty proud of myself because I had done it in such a quick period of time, learned a lot along the way, and did it as a family. So there was a lot of cool things that happened. And at my first outdoor national here in Southern California at a place called Glen Helen, which you've probably heard of. Glen Helen's a pretty gnarly track. And they have this hill, it's called Mount St. Helens. It's like one of the biggest hills on the motocross circuit, if not the biggest. And going down it, there's a lot of braking bumps. You know what that is? Like speed bumps, kind of
chopped up.
Yeah. So you're going down the hill, and I kind of got pulled off the back of the dirt bike. And when you get pulled off the back, they have twist throttles on them, and it's called whiskey throttle. And so I got pulled off the back, and I gave it full throttle at the bottom of the hill instead of slowing down.
Oh no! Was there a berm?
There was a little scrub jump after it, which means that you slow down, you go over it, and then you hang a left into a berm. And I hit that. You're supposed to hit it kind of shift down to second, scrub over it, and then hit the turn. And I hit it going 4th gear wide open as fast as I could. And what it did was it kind of bucked me off like a bucking bronco as I hit the jump. And so I became disconnected from the motorcycle, and I flew through the air, kind of just they call it rolling up the windows. So my legs and my feet are flailing in the air. And when I landed with both of my feet on the ground. In fact, I went so far, I went over the audience or the spectators that were there. So I went past the berm and over them. So
Whoa.
I probably flew in the neighborhood of maybe 90 or 100 feet or so. And when I landed on both of my feet. I broke both my legs, my tailbone, my back, and a little piece of my skull, and injured my arms as well because of the impact. They said it was approximately the impact of jumping out of a 7-story building and landing on your feet.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it was, I still remember to this day. I was laying there on the ground, and I couldn't move because...
so you woke up right there on the ground injured.
I never passed out.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was there the whole time, and I'll get into the sucky part about it, but I still remember, right as I rolled to my side, a little kid went and stole my number plate and took off.
No way.
So that was another kicker, right? Not that he did anything wrong. He didn't know I was that hurt, right? He just wanted some memorabilia, and so at that point, I kind of knew, again, people want to do what they want to do, right? They want to do things that make them happy, and that's something that made that kid happy. Whether he knew the situation or not is still...
Right.
But...
So what was going through your mind? So when you're sitting there, I'm sure you're in massive amounts of pain.
Well, when I saw that kid, it gave me, a little bit of a quirky smile, right? And I'm in massive amounts of pain, but I go, you know what? This is real. You don't have to pinch me. I understand this is real because I just saw that. And so when something like that happens to you and your nerves become disconnected, I broke what's called the L1 vertebrae. It's kind of right above where your butt crack is. And I damaged the horse's tail of your spine. So your spine goes down, and then it kind of looks like a horse's tail. It comes off in little pieces. And I damaged that, and that took away all the feeling and movement from your abdomen down. And so I was like, initial motocross guy, I was like, oh, I got to get up. I got to go. Like, I got to get back on the dirt bike. And I tried to do that, and I was stuck. I was like a sandbag is what it felt like. So it was like, something's really wrong. Like,
you just couldn't, nothing was moving.
No, and I didn't know that. I felt all the pain in my back and my head and stuff, but I didn't feel my legs were broken because they were paralyzed, right? Like, and so I was like, man, like I can't move. And so I was still kind of in the way of the track. So I just used my arms a little bit and like my elbow because my arm hurt. And so I like pushed myself off the track, and I was yelling because I couldn't really wave or anything. And I was yelling and screaming at the flagman. And I was like, something's really wrong. Like, get the ambulance, get the medics out here. And it took them forever, dude. It took them so long. And I just remember being like, I think it's fixable. I think it's fixable. Like, I can still beat this. And then so they took me to the hospital, and that was the first time that they read me my last rites. And they rolled me in there, and they're like, dude, what? Like, they kept looking at me like, did you get hit by a car? Like, I was walking across the street and got hit by a car. I'm like, no, I'm in gear. Like, I'm in dirt bike gear. Like, and then so they figured out what was wrong with me. And
did they give you medication by that point? I'm sure that wasn't like a normal, like.
I don't think that at the time they could. I think it was just like, I remember struggling around the ambulance too. I was like, I feel like I just got to like move and like pop myself back in place. And they're like, dude, don't move. Like, you got to stay there. And I just remember just being like so confused and like ready to be over with, like, just wake me up. And then so they took me to the hospital, and as they were rolling me in, that's when the priest came out and he said, you know what, son, it's not looking good. Let's say a couple of prayers. And I was like, okay. And, you know, you said you're a man of faith. So I was like, all right. And I am too. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. But I didn't get what he was talking about. And then the doctor comes up and he goes, we got to move, sir, to the priest. And he goes, I have to finish before he goes in there. And then so I was like, yeah, let him finish. So the doctor's just standing there like frantically. I'm like, let him finish, because you don't want to just leave him, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes, all right, the prayer's over. And he starts reading me my last rites and telling me, you know, we hope you make it. Do you want to call anybody? I said, of course. Like, you know, my brain still works. Like, of course, I want to talk to my family. And then so I get the opportunity and I call my mom and dad, because I was 19 at the time. So I call my mom and dad.
Do they know you're in the hospital at that point?
No, they just think I'm out there racing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I call them and I go, I got hurt. Can you guys get over here? The priest said it's not looking good. I got to go. And I hung up, like, I didn't know. And then 2 seconds later, or whatever it was, I don't know, maybe it's 10 minutes, but the anesthesia kicked in. I woke up, and my parents were there by my side. They drove 8 hours from Arizona to California in that amount of time, and they stayed with me for, I think it was a week or two in the hospital.
Wow.
And one of the most, like, gratifying or traumatic experiences that I ever had during that time was the doctor walked in after I got out of surgery. I think it was maybe the day later.
I got to ask real quick, George.
Sure.
So I want to know where your head was. Like, I want to know mentally what's going on when you're in the hospital and you have a priest, pastor, whatever you want to call him, comes in and says, hey, let's pray real quick. You're going to go into surgery. Like, that's serious, right? They come in when it's there. There's chances you don't come out of it. Did that like click? Like, this isn't good?
I don't think it clicked right then. I think me being a little naive at that time, like how I said, I think I can fix this, or I think it can be fixed. I think that was me being naive. And so I think when he told me that stuff, I don't think I really got it. I think I was still in that naive state, like, okay, we can pray. That's fine. I appreciate you being on my team.
Yeah, and you're confident. You're just go through surgery, wake up, kind of like 7th grade. And
I don't even know if confidence is the right word. Like, I don't think I knew. I really think I was just that naive. Like, I didn't get it. I just thought I could beat it. Like, that's what was in my head. And I don't mean that as like I was confident, because I wasn't. I mean it as I just didn't know. I just didn't think of the the bad part. So,
wow.
I did realize it the day after, though, or the next day when the doctor came in, because the doctor comes into the hospital room and I'm already like super depressed. Like, like you going from being an athlete and doing all this stuff to laying there and not
having any endorphins,
not knowing what's going to happen. You can't move. Like, your body is limp. Like, it's pretty mentally frustrating. And so the doctor was a complete asshole when he came in. He walks in. First thing out of his mouth was, I hope that you're feeling better, but I need to tell you right now that you have to get used to being in a wheelchair for the rest of your life.
Wow. That's the first words out of the mouth.
I mean, at least he said, I hope you're feeling better, right? But I looked at him straight in the eye, and I said, fuck you.
Yeah, you're not telling me that.
As loud as I could in there. He walked away, and I've never seen him again. Ever. Not one time did he ever come in and check on me again.
Wow.
And I think that was one of the biggest turning points in my life for me, because it just showed what other people think about me. Again, I don't want anybody to control my vertical. It's up to me.
That's right.
So I didn't need to see him again.
And I'm sure that happens, just talking to the audience here, where exactly what happened to George. The guy, he wakes up from surgery, doctor saying you're never going to walk again. He says, fuck you. I'm going to go walk again. You're not going to tell me that, right?
Yeah, and truthfully, I had no idea what was going to happen, but I didn't want to take what he was telling me as
let
my
it
life.
Register in your head, and you say, yep, that's who I am.
Because immediately that would have been a failure for me.
That's right.
And I didn't want that.
And so you guys, if somebody's saying you can't do that, you're not capable of this, you might have to take the step George said and said, absolutely not.
Right.
Because right when you start believing that, that's when you become weak to that, right?
Dude, 100%. And it doesn't matter whether you break your back or whether you're in a boardroom meeting and somebody says, hey, you know what? We got to make these changes. And you don't think it's right, step up and say that you don't think it's right. Because whether it is actually right or not, you did what was right for you.
That's a good point. So what happened after that day? New doctor comes in.
You learn a lot of things super quickly, and I don't want to get too far into detail because, everybody has their story, and there's many people that have gone into way deeper situations than I have, right?
Yeah.
But the details along those terms, you go through all these medical things, you're seeing doctors all the time. It's just super frustrating. It's just mentally challenging every single minute of every single day. Still to this day, I can't walk very good. You saw me when we were walking in. I walk kind of like a penguin, and I used ankle braces to be able to walk around. That didn't happen just immediately. I had to go through all the mental struggles, and I did have to actually be in a wheelchair for just over 5 years and try to learn how to walk and try to get my body back to what it could be to be able to get to the point that I am now. So the main thing that I learned along those times was you have to be mentally strong and able to beat all of the things that are going on around you and inside you to be able to win at your own life.
That's a great point.
Because otherwise, I've seen so many people that get in a car accident, break their back, and get hooked on painkillers, be an alcoholic, and they just die. And I don't mean that as bad. Maybe that's what they wanted to do.
Right.
Maybe they were over it, right? But that's not what I wanted to do.
So, where you're at this point, it sounds basically like rock bottom, right? And you came out of it, though, with the right mindset and said, nah, that's not happening. We're going to figure this out. And you've obviously figured it out. I doubt that was an easy road to being paralyzed in a wheelchair. Now, you just walking in this building in your own 2 feet. Like, that's a road right there of challenges that you've had to overcome each step, because I'm sure there's decisions along the way where there's breaking points on, do I want to do this?
Yep.
Obviously you want to do it, but the work that goes into it, and I'm sure there's not a guarantee as well, right?
There's never a guarantee, but there's no guarantee in anybody's life, not just mine. So the things that I was, even just walking into the building today, first of all, thank you for having me here. But
yeah, thank you for coming on.
You asked, should we have the podcast downstairs?
Yeah.
To me, that's a flattering thing for me to be able to answer. No, I want to walk up these stairs.
That's awesome.
Give it to me. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, it means a lot to me to be able to first of all do it, and for you to see me do it.
That's right.
Because I'm doing it for me, and you get the vibe from it.
Yeah,
right?
That's badass.
We went to eat a hamburger actually for lunch today, and I walked out, and there was this old couple, and they were struggling. They just ate an awesome hamburger. They had smiles on their faces, but they could barely make it to their car. I walked out and I said, dude, you want to race?
That's awesome.
He goes, oh my gosh. Like he lit up, like his smile, and his wife, they started laughing. He goes, I forgot what he said, but like, he's like, the ambience around you is awesome.
That's so cool.
And I go, dude, I hope you guys have a good day. It's just a simple thing, right? Like, so for me, those little victories is what keeps me going every single second, because still to this day, when I walk, I can't just walk down the street. I have to look at every single one of my steps to make sure that my foot is not hitting something, because I can't feel it. So I have to look out for it. So you guys walk up curb just normally, like sometimes you trip or whatever. I fall down all the time.
Yeah.
But to me, that's normal. Like, my normal is not your normal, but my normal is completely fine. I don't have cancer. I don't have these underlying things. I have stuff that I could push through and beat. So why not?
That's right. And you're alive at the end of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's deep. And
we're only at the start, man.
I know. And then you get, so this happens, and then you're racing again?
Yeah, well, I don't know what your audience demographic is, but I think we should talk about some of the stuff that happened in between after I got hurt, because we already talked about hating school. Well, I still hate school to this day.
Did you try to go back?
Yeah, so I was laying in the hospital bed before I got out of the hospital. I had to go to a bunch of rehab, right? So they moved me from California to Arizona and all these places. And at one point in Arizona, my family says, what are you going to do, dude? Another, like, hard question, life-altering moment. I go, well, I like 2 wheels. Like, can I start a bicycle shop? They go, dude, you have no money. Like, quit dreaming so big. Like, get back to reality here. Like, you're hurt, and you need to recover, and you need something to make money. So I was like, okay, shit. Like, I really got to think about this. So the next day they go, you're smart. Do you want, like, computers are becoming big. Do you want to get a computer job? And I go, you know what? At this point, I don't want any of that. So I don't care where you put me. Let's just do something that I'm going to be good at so I can get through it and get on to the next point in my life, just like we talked about before.
Yeah.
Don't want school, just want to be a motocrosser. What's the next goal? So I ended up going and getting tested for what I would be good at a college. And the supervisors and everybody said I was a really logical thinker, good at math, could process stuff quickly. I would be good at computers. So again, I hated school so much. I went to school for 10 hours a day and on weekends and got my computer science degree in 2.5 years.
Wow.
And I did that because I didn't want to go to school anymore. During that whole time, I was in a wheelchair or using what's called Canadian crutches. They're like forearm crutches to be able to get through school. So not only was it torturous for me mentally to go to school because I didn't like it.
Right.
It was also a massive hurt for my body, but it was also rehab. There was also positive things coming out of it. I'm moving forward in my life. I'm moving forward in my rehab. I'm meeting people. I'm having fun. I'm doing all these things. I'm learning all these things.
Kind of got outside a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess even outside my box a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of these new things that I'm learning, but now I have a tool and a toolbox to be able to go achieve other goals. Since I didn't want to go work for, let's just say, a computer software company, I didn't want to go work for Dell or IBM or anybody. I still had the dreams of being around the action sports industry. So I said, all right, if I graduate quick enough, my girlfriend at the time, I said, would you like to move to Southern California? She said, sure. So as soon as I got out of school, we saved up a little bit of money, moved to Southern California. I moved to Oceanside and started looking for jobs. I couldn't find any very good jobs, and one day I heard from my buddy that Spy Optic, that makes sunglasses, had an opening for a part-time network administrator. So I went in there, and first week I worked 60 hours part-time, right?
Yeah. Jeez. I know
so
how that is.
I thought to myself, all right, maybe I can do something with this computer degree that I have that's not just wearing a pocket protector. Like, I can go associate with people that are like-minded.
Right.
So I only worked at Spy for a year, but during that time I learned a lot. I learned a lot about business, corporations, IPOs, like all kinds of different business transactions, everything. Because I'm the computer guy, I have access to everything. And I also learned a lot about the people. I learned that people really accept you when you're just nice. It doesn't matter if you have a disability. Mm-hmm. If you're nice, you do something for them. And they all had the same mindset as I did. Outdoorsy, want to go have fun, so I made good friends there. Some of them I still talk to this day. And after about a year or so, I kind of hit that ceiling again. I said, man, I really need to do something for me. So I went out and I was like, all right, I'm going to start my own business. See if I can start, building some stuff. And I started working on website stuff for not only Spy, but I started working on it for a company called Atticus. And Atticus was a company that was owned by Mark and Tom from Blink-182. And so I started working and building their stuff, and some of my friends worked over there. And as it went, I probably worked for them for 3 years or so. And I got other clients during that time, other music clients, and just started building websites. And I had my own little business going, right? So it was pretty cool to be able to have that. And
it's almost like the similar story to ride a motocross, right?
Kind of.
Learning how to ride a little bit and just keep excelling one by one by one. Just very driven, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I think most people that are business-minded can probably adhere to that a little bit. Like, everything is a victory, right?
Yeah.
When you go in, you have failures. Of course, I had failures along the way. This was not all roses, but the whole meaningful part about it for me was that I went into every meeting, and I could win in those meetings because I didn't have a pocket protector. You know what I mean? I was an action sports guy. I just had a different tool set than everybody around them.
Right.
So I was unique for that instance. Now there's tons of people that do it, right?
Yeah.
But in that case, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. This is my selling point. This is my hook to being able to be a good business person, because I know stuff that these other action sports guys don't know. Most surfers, most skaters and stuff aren't going to be a computer engineer or a software engineer. They have no interest in that.
Yeah.
But since I was put in the position to where I was able to do that, I could leverage it. And so I kind of just kept going, man. And through that time, and I could talk about so many cool stories during that time, but it was probably about a 5-year period, maybe a little bit more than that. I was able to, I should actually backtrack a little bit here. I was able to go from just helping them build websites to being a partner of Mark and Tom's and their business manager, John, in their business. in college, while I was doing my research paper, I did it on a company called loserkids.com. No pun intended, but
yeah.
loserkids.com was like Zoomies or Pacific Sunwear, where they sell clothes, but they just did it online. And with a marketing machine like Mark and Tom, like, it's easy because they just sell whatever they wear on the weekend, they sell out of the next day, right? And I thought, okay, cool, that was a good research paper. You know, forward 8 years or whatever it was later, they're one of my clients. I'm working for them. I'm helping them build their side businesses. And I thought, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'll take another step, a leap of faith, if you will. They offered to buy my business from me. And I said, sure, let's do it. You guys are fun to work with. I worked with you this whole time. Let me just organize my clients and get everything ready to be passed over. So organized all of them, and they made me the president of loserkids.com. How full circle is that, dude?
What a trip.
I couldn't believe it. And the only reason I wrote it, my research paper on loserkids.com, was because I liked Blink-182 in college, dude.
That's awesome.
And now, like, it comes this full circle. And it kind of goes to show, like, sometimes in business or in life, you have to just let things happen.
I was just going to say that, because you don't. So a lot of people probably, like, I'm sure you go through, like, hard stuff still, right? And you go through a hard thing, but you know there's a better outcome at the end of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you might, as you guys know, you might be going through something today, and you could be asking yourself, like, why the hell am I dealing with this? Like, this sucks. This hurts. Like,
right.
Negative, versus we all go through hard things, not just because. We go through hard things, and it might build strength. It might get us outside of our comfort zone to experience that really good thing that's coming. You just have to be patient and trust in the plan to get there.
100%. And patience is something that I never knew. And still have a hard time with it. Yeah. Any business owner has a hard time with it, right?
Yeah.
Not going into numbers or anything, but when they made me president of loserkids.com, we still had a couple people. We had 2 employees. We had other people that were distributors and all these partners, right? So the 2-employee thing is not really the main thing here. But the first year I started working with them, it was $1 million company. And we have all of these people that we have to pay out. By the end of 5 years, it was 6 times that, with the same amount of employees, just other distribution partners and things like that. It wasn't just because of me. It was because of all of the stuff that we did with everybody else. And this is exactly what I tell you that I learned going through all this racing stuff, understanding what people had to do in these other companies and living the life that I had before this, because now I knew that all of these people on the outside, the distribution partners, the marketing teams, and most importantly, Mark and Tom themselves, are doing this to show other people what they want. You know, they're helping other people. So those were the big catalysts to drive those sales. We were just the backbone. So all of that showed me what a team can do. And it doesn't just have to be your internal team. It doesn't have to be your family. It can be 1 million people around you.
Right.
You just have to give everybody the opportunity to be what they're good at. Mark and Tom would have sucked working on the computer, but they were fantastic at stringing the guitar, right?
Yeah.
So let them do their deal. And it worked out so great. During that time, they spawned off 4 or 5 more businesses because of it. That business supported other little entities that came up. They had a company called Really Likeable People, and it had 5 divisions underneath it. They had a production company, shoe company, apparel company, online distribution. All of these things merged together because they had a good team, people that were passionate and people that saw the same vision as I did. And it was awesome to see that. And that taught me so many different things. It taught me that you can think outside the box. You don't have to wear the pocket protector. Everybody just has to be in their place doing a good job.
People are everything, man.
Dude, you know that just as well as I do. It's so cool to see. And so like during those times, I learned so much, man. Like I got the opportunity to work with so many cool people. Just to drop a few names, Mary J. Blige, Tommy Lee, The Cure. To this day, I'm still, some of my clients are the Misfits, the Ramones.
Really cool.
Massive amounts of cool people that I've been able to work with over the years. And I mean, I could name hundreds and hundreds of them, right? But all of these people have shown me that they're no different in the way that we think.
That's right.
They're just really good at what they do.
Yeah.
Just like you are, and hopefully me.
It's because we've all learned, right? From different stuff, from different backgrounds, and it's educated in a different way.
Exactly. It's so cool to see. And I'm very fortunate to be able to have that opportunity. But I'm also very appreciative and understanding of my hard work and loyalty to get to that position.
Was that like another win for you? Like, did you almost like winning a race? Do you get that same feeling as you're moving up in the business world?
I think so, yeah. I think there was a bunch of little victories there, but I don't even know how to say this because it's going to sound so, I don't know, cliche or dumb, but a business win was never enough to match a win on the track for me, personally.
Yeah.
I always thought it was better to beat everybody else in front of everybody's eyes than to do it behind the scenes, right? But now as I get older, it doesn't matter as much. Now I understand that the behind the scenes stuff is almost more important because let's just say you're Ken Roxon and you go and win a race. He did a fantastic amount of work and an amazing job to be able to do that.
Right.
But everybody else did behind the scenes too.
Yeah, the whole team.
And I don't think I grasped that quite as much when I was younger.
Yeah, just me, put in all the effort.
Yeah, and I think that was a little bit because when you're a racer, you're selfish, right? You got to be selfish because if you don't have that selfishness, you're not going to be a winner, right? But I think I lost some of that during that business acumen that I gained, which was good.
That's cool. I'm sure it sharpened you up.
I feel like it did, probably, yeah.
I'm sure. Motocross, you're out there racing by yourself with other people. Even though you have the team behind you, you go into football and stuff. You got the team out there with you, where everybody's a key player. Same thing with business. Is this whole thing stops if we're missing a key component to it.
Exactly. If somebody gets sick or somebody gets injured,
yeah,
it is crazy.
So what's next from there?
So I started getting. Everybody gets stale or bored in business or in anything that they're doing. Some people need a refresher. Some people need a change. Mm-hmm. Look at the world we live in now. Everybody's understanding where they're going to go, finding their new path, right?
They got mixed up.
Yeah. I felt like that at, this was about 2008-ish. I felt the same way, and I was like, you know what? I should backtrack a little bit. During that time when I was doing the business stuff, I started being able to walk better. And I started losing the forearm crutches, and I started being able to ride bicycles a little bit.
Wow.
And not good at all. I fall down all the time. But
that showed when that idea came, so let's start racing again?
Kind of. And then so I ended up going back into business for myself. During that time, we had an office down in Solana Beach. It was actually super cool because some of the clients from the UK and Europe and stuff, they'd come over and we'd have a shower there. So they'd go surfing, come to meetings and stuff. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
But during that time, I was a lot freer of a business owner, and I was able to have some employees that helped me and stuff. And we all kind of started this little thing where we'd got mini bikes. And so we all got little 110s and mini bikes and stuff. So as a helpful thing to do with the employees, I said, all right, if you guys want to stay late one day or work extra hours during the week, I'll take everybody every Tuesday morning to go up to Lake Elsinore and we'll go ride mini bikes together.
Oh, that's cool.
So
that's a nice culture builder, right?
Yeah,
there.
exactly. So, and we all have fun. You do it, do our fun thing, and then we would take them and go eat. Usually, they want to go to Hooters in Temecula.
Yeah.
And I would take them to eat at Hooters, and then we go back to the office, and we'd just all have what's funny is the most productive days were Tuesday afternoons.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, everybody's on fire, man.
Yeah, they're pumped up, ready to go, adrenaline's pumping. But anyway, so it was a good morale builder, and that got me back into thinking, well, maybe I could ride again. Actually, some of the biggest mini bike jumps that I've ever done are out there at Lake Elsinore at that time, and it was cool because I wasn't riding a big dirt bike. I was just messing around with my buddies, but I kind of got the itch again, right? So fast forward, 3 or 4 years, I ended up wanting to leave California at the time and go back to Arizona because I miss my family so much.
Yeah.
And so I decided, all right, well, I'll let my employees, give them a year or so and let them do whatever, find other jobs. And so they all actually found fantastic jobs. They went to work for companies like Shopify and like really big internet online companies. Some still do a lot of music work. And I went back and started being a consultant for all of the clients that I have still to this date or at the time. And it worked out really well because I was able to do it virtually. They didn't care where I was. But then I got able to ride a dirt bike again. I went out and purchased a 250F, a Yamaha 250F, and
What are your thoughts going into a dirt bike store and buying a dirt bike after all this?
Dude, honestly,
did you wake up in the morning just like, I don't know if I should be doing this right now?
100%. I still have that feeling in me, like, should I not? But the excitement level beat that. It like overpowered it. I was just so fired up. I was like, this is my chance to show everybody that you don't have to be normal to do things. Like, maybe there's something more than just business for me. Maybe it's showing people that they can overcome things in a different way.
I think I think that's a big piece, but I also think you like the challenge of this should be impossible, but I'm going to show you that I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
That's what I'm kind of learning from you right now.
I definitely do, and maybe it is me putting it off on other people, saying that I want to help them, but it's helping me.
Yeah,
like it's something that really invigorates me and it gets me going too. So maybe there is some selfishness in there too, but it just made me happy, dude. So I was just like, I'm going to go do it. So I just kind of started riding around a little bit, and I was still decent. Like, I can't hang on with my legs. Like, in dirt bikes, you have to, like, really grip with your legs,
whenever the
right?
bars not get the arm pump as much.
Yeah, exactly. So what I would do is I had this little button that would shift gears for me, so I could keep my hands on the handlebars, and I didn't have to move my legs. I just basically, like, lock them onto the bike, and it was crazy because still to this date, I haven't hit a rear brake on a motorcycle since 1998.
No way, you're just downshifting.
Yeah. 4 strokes are the best thing ever, right?
Oh, that's amazing.
So, yeah, it's crazy. And I started riding a little bit and going out with my buddies, and dude, my arms got yoked quick.
I'm sure.
Because that's all I could hold on. But it was cool for me. Like, it was really cool to be able to go out there. And the thing that meant the most to me was not even like going fast. Like, that's a win, a little win if you can go fast, right? But it's just being there with all my friends.
For sure.
That's what I did.
All odds are against you.
Yeah, and I've grown up like that.
Yeah.
Like, anybody that's grown up riding dirt bikes is like the best times ever, just sitting out there in the tailgate with your buddies.
Dude, I mean, even I'll talk to my buddies. I have these off-road cars, and I'll go to Glamis with, you know, and very, very expensive cars. And I'd rather pick up my bike and go ride in the dunes and take out one of those cars. Because you get a group of bikes, and there's not a better feeling. Yeah. You're just free, you know?
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I think really made me so happy was to be able to do that. Like, when I was on the dirt bike, whether it be the little bike, or even on my bicycle too, I don't feel different. I don't feel fucked up. I don't feel anything but freedom and normality because I'm doing the same thing that everybody else is. So for me, it's liberating. Yeah. Right? Like, it's super, super cool to be able to have that option, to be able to do it. But yeah, so to fast forward it
Were you always that grateful? Did you always have that much gratitude for things like to go ride motocross, or is that something you learned from having things taken away from you?
I've always been a nice person or a nice kid. As you experience these significant life changes or significant emotional events that change your mindset, or your well-being for that matter, I think you do forcefully appreciate stuff more. But as you get older, you can understandably appreciate it for what it is, and really understand how much life is worth around you. Your life,
that's right.
Every employee here's life. So the way that you treat yourself and other people gets upgraded because of that.
It's amazing. Well said. So adversity is good, right? Adversity,
I think to a certain extent, yeah.
It could, I mean, you have a choice going through it, right? But if you could overcome adversity, you overcame a learning education that now it sounds like made you a better person.
I would like to think so, for sure. But there's been many times along the way. I mean, like the times that I've gotten hurt really bad. And I mean, dude, I went through like 2 or 3 punching bags just beating the shit out of things because I was so frustrated. I mean, there's more times that I've put holes in walls. Like, everybody has those moments.
Mm-hmm.
You're frustrated from work, you're frustrated from something. But when you're volatile and when things are put upon you, like, illnesses or whatever it is, whatever people are going through, it gets you to a point where sometimes you have to break. If you can control those times, then you're better off, because on the adverse side, you'll understand what it means to be grateful for those times. So I learned a lot during those times, man. I really did.
What would you say to the audience that's listening that might be going through one of those times right now? Their life just changed right before
honestly,
their eyes.
I think you said it actually already before in this interview. Like, sometimes you just have to roll with the punches, let things go, and push through it. Like, be patient until the outside or until the outcome comes through.
It might take some time to understand, right?
I mean, dude, sometimes it takes years. I mean, just to be able to start walking without crutches, it took me almost 7 years. Wow. Could you imagine going through and I'm not talking about me having the worst life here, because people go through way worse than me. But can you imagine going through little trials and tribulations for 7 years?
I could not. I was in a wheelchair for 2 months before, and that was just mind-blowing, right? Knowing I was going to be able to walk again, but just having to be stuck for 2 months not doing the things that I wanted to do.
Yep.
Horrible.
And so
that wasn't enough. I was young at the time. That wasn't enough time for me to understand, like, to mentally get through it, right? But I don't wish it upon anybody, but it sounds like if you have the right attitude and mindset, there's a lot of things to be learned going through that.
Dude.
Everybody I meet that's been through like hard shit like that, nicest people I've ever met, most grateful people I've ever met. I'm like, why can't we all be like this? And I think it's because not a lot of people think they're going through stuff. They might have lost their job or something like that, and that's not real adversity. That's not life changing. Right. You could go fix that tomorrow. Yep. Right? Girlfriend broke up with you. You could go find another girlfriend. Like, your life's not over. Like, what you're talking about is like, this has just changed your life.
100%. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I guess even to go on the opposite end of that, like, even today, like, and I mean today as a time frame, like, I'll be walking down the street and I'll just see some unappreciative son of a bitch, and I'll just go, "You have no idea." And I don't feel bad about saying that, like, you should because say that. He yells at the cashier, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, that cashier is not fighting with you for any other reason than she thinks that she knows what she's doing.
That's right.
But you're being a dick. Like, why?
Yeah.
What's bothering you that you have to bother her? You want to offload that onto her? It's never going to be offloaded onto her. It's your problem.
Yeah, or a part's not in stock, right? And you're talking to the person at the front desk just cussing them out.
Anything. Anything. Yeah. Drive through anything. Gas pumps, whatever it is that pisses you off. It's your life and your problem. So if you can manage your expectations of what you feel is hurting you at the time, you have a much better chance of living a positive, grateful life.
That's right. Damn, well said.
So, so let's fast forward on a little bit, man. Like, I just kind of got the bug again after I started riding dirt bikes, and I actually ended up racing a couple local races out in Arizona. Funny thing was I could still go almost pro speed with the limited ability that I had. Not that I should be doing that. Yeah. But it was cool. I went out and I raced the pro class because I didn't want to race in the beginner class because I was more scared of having something happen with somebody else. So I ended up racing the pro class with all my buddies. I whole shot the pro class, and I led for a couple laps or a couple corners, whatever it was at the time. And ended up fading because I was just way too tired, right? I didn't have endurance. They did, which is fine. I don't care. I ended up beating a couple people, but I was giving money back to the pro payback, so I was giving money to my friends, and I was hanging out with them. There was no more wins for me. Like, that was it.
That's cool.
So cool. And
because your wins were internal.
So, yeah.
You didn't care about the score, all that stuff. You're out there pacing with these guys.
Exactly. And it was cool because I got to see what people appreciated about what I was doing because it was resonating with them. So, and I don't want to put this on like I was cool at the time, but now I see it from a different angle, right? Like, people would walk up to me after the race and not walk, and my buddy's sitting right there and he just won the pro class, right? Dude, that was so cool, George. Like, we're so proud of you. And I was like, why aren't they talking to him? He's the one that just smoked us. Like, he's the badass, right? But then I was like, wow, this is a really different perspective than what you're used to, man. Like,
that's cool.
You should understand that you can affect people more than you know. You just did something that they appreciated.
Is that where it clicked from you? Like, I'm sure we'll get into it, but you do a lot of things now to help other people. Is that when you're like, that feels good, and now I want to go help others?
Dude, 100%. And so, like, for me, it was eye-opening because I thought, okay, now I'm not just out there racing a dirt bike. Now I'm out there showing people that they can do something that they hadn't done or that they thought they couldn't do, or now I'm a model for people that may not know what they want to do or whatever it is, right? Like, I didn't understand at the time, but looking back on it, I kind of do. So again, we'll fast forward a little bit. I ended up racing a few times, and there was an opportunity to race the X Games in what's called Super X Adaptive, which is dudes that like might be missing a leg or paralyzed or whatever, similar to what I was. I was just like, shit, I want to race the X Games. I mean, this is like at the height of X Games. It's like 2008 or 2009.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was like when X Games was like
big,
huge. And so they gave me the opportunity. They said, we'll give you an invite if you go up to Michigan, race what's called Extremity Games against like-bodied individuals. I said, sure. So I had to trailer my bike up there, showed up, raced one of the awesomest tracks, won, and got an invite to go to the X Games. And I was like, dude, this is like the best thing ever. Like, not only am I showing people that we can do something, all of these other dudes that I'm racing with are, so who cares who wins?
For sure. Everybody just stoked to be there, man.
And I'm getting like all kinds of motivation from the dudes that I'm competing against. Like, I'm not sitting on the starting line not wanting to talk to my competitor. I'm like wanting to talk and hear stories from everybody.
Isn't that cool? It's I'm sure a whole different scene than what everybody's used to in racing.
It was the exact opposite of a normal competitive race. And everybody was
Take this corner, do this, do that.
And everybody, dude, I remember even stopping on the track to help a dude that was fell over and couldn't get back up because he was like on a wheelchair bike or whatever. They had like the bars.
Yeah.
And I remember stopping, helping put him back up, and then take off again.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because it didn't matter at that point, like, who wins, right? Because we're all winning.
Right.
It was so rad. And so, like, those are exactly the times that showed me, like, exactly what you asked. Like, those are the turning points.
It's amazing.
And so got to race the X Games, and this is another key moment of what I want to call it, business or learning marketing and business for me. I got a really shitty start at the X Games. I think I started 8 out of 10. Like, I was horrible position. I ended up working my way through the pack, getting a lot of TV time. And I had a bunch of sponsors lined up because who doesn't want to be on the X Games, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then so I'm doing the X Games, and I mean, obviously I can't see the TV. I don't know what they're recording, but we're live, right? We're like millions of people. And I get up to second place, and I eat shit really hard. Like, I just high side in a corner, landed, and I broke my arm. Like, I broke my wrist because the dirt was like cement. And so I'm like, I'm at the X Games, dude. Like, you can't fail in front of this many people at the X Games. Look, all these dudes around you. All of us are winning at life. I have to finish this race. So I got up, and this all went through my head in 10 seconds, right, when you're on the track. I got up, I put my arm on, I was like, I can't grip, I'm going to grip twice as hard with my other arm. Finished the race, passed 2 dudes, went straight to the
You're riding this whole thing one-handed.
Two extra laps.
No, you're still not using...
I put my hand on the handlebars, it was just broke.
You're not using the foot controls or anything?
No, I just put it in second gear and just went like as good as I could for the. And
you're literally holding on to a bike basically one-handed at this point.
This one did a little bit of work. I mean, it was steadying it, but it was broke. Like
holy shit!
I just went through the pain. Like I could still move it a little bit. It was just a lot of pain. So, and nobody knew I was broke, like because I just got up and went again. So everybody that's looking doesn't know what's going on, and so I passed 2 dudes. And I ended up, I don't even know what, I got a 6th or a 7th. I don't know. I did horrible. But it didn't matter to me. I went straight to the podium and saw all my competitors, cheered them on, was so thankful for the opportunity. I looked at all of them like they were just sent from the heavens because they were like God to me because I wanted to be up there so bad.
Yeah.
And I was so pumped for those dudes.
That's cool.
Had my broken arm, went to the truck, loaded everything up, went to Taco Bell, went to the hospital, and got it fixed.
You made sure you got Taco Bell, though?
Yep. Had to.
Damn.
So it was a crazy time, but the most meaningful part of that was the story came to life after the fact that I did those things. I was the only motocrosser out of the able-bodied, Kevin Windham, all these badass dudes. I was the only motocrosser, and some of the dudes, even in freestyle, like I forgot Nate Adams at the time, or these badass dudes, I was the only dude to make SportsCenter.
Wow.
The only dude. I got so many calls from all of my sponsors and partners the next day going, you are the best thing we've ever done for the X Games.
That's amazing.
Because it wasn't just X Games, it was SportsCenter. SportsCenter's
massive.
NFL, like all of these things, right? And I made sport. I'm like, dude, I had no idea that was going to happen. That was just dumb luck, right?
Yeah.
That was a huge point for me to understand how business relations work for sponsorships. Because now I know the value is not necessarily in winning races. It's in getting eyes.
Yeah, that's true.
So
real quick, when they put you on SportsCenter, did they tell you your story at all?
I don't think they did because it was just a clip that was like 6 seconds. It was something super short.
Gotcha.
But I didn't care at the time. Like I didn't know. And for me, again, like maybe I'm just really naive, but all I cared about that I was there. I was like, yes, that's so sick, right? And I'm getting all these messages from people. They're putting me on the TV screens and like sending me phone shots, like screenshots. I'm like, yeah, this is so cool.
That is cool.
But yeah, I wish that the story had got out there a little bit more. You know, like
that just could have changed so many lives right there. I think that's an amazing story.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know if I would give myself that much credit, but I would definitely like to share my story more. You know, like I don't even know. Like, let's just say Ellen calls. Does an audience like Ellen's care for that kind of stuff? Like,
dude, I think everybody cares. The life lessons that you learned and what you've accomplished when odds are against you, that relates to everybody.
Yeah, I could see that.
As you're telling it, I could see myself in your shoes going through it, and I'm sitting here like, how the fuck did he get through this?
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I really do. You know, at the time, it doesn't... I don't know. I think it's just building blocks, right? Like all those things that I learned from a young age just started piling up. And then when you're faced with a broken arm in front of that many people, like you can't quit. You know, so that's all the things that I learned at that time that I put into businesses now. You know, that I do now because it's not as important as what you really think it is. Just like you said, like you're in a board meeting, you're at a meeting, you don't have the day that you want. Like, just be patient, let it happen because there's something that's good on the other side. Whew.
That's true. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes that moment is so intense that becomes like 100% of the pie at the time, right? When in reality, if you go take a vacation after that or whatever, it's only like 3% of your life. It's hard to disconnect that sometimes.
Somebody told me the other day, they were like, dude, I'm just so burnt. Like, I hate my boss. I hate my job. Like, I really, like, I need to push through this. I need to keep going. Like, I need the money. And I'm like, you're already down the rabbit hole that you can't really come back from. Like, you need to stop, reevaluate, quit the job, whatever it is. That's the change that you need. You need to take a deep breath at some point and realize that you're just digging further before you can get out.
Yeah, you got to take it. I mean, to everybody needs to take a break at some point.
Yeah.
Even when things are amazing or things are down, it's always good to take a break, couple weeks, a month if possible, if you're fortunate enough, and just sit there and kind of evaluate your life.
Absolutely.
Think back when you're in high school or college or whatever. Is this the life that I dreamed of? Is this a life that I wanted to have? Because a lot of times people have those thoughts too late, right?
Dude.
And I do that this Saturday. I'm going to be off for 18 days or so.
Nice.
That's it. No computer, no phone, personal phone. Last year I did a month. And even though life's good for me, amazing family, great business, everything's on the up, right? I'm going to stop and walk away because during that time, get to connect really deep with my family, but also I get to connect with my inner self and say,
Dude.
hey, am I living the life I want? And already, like, my mind's kind of getting that. I'm like, you know what? I haven't been talking. I haven't seen my grandpa in 8 months. Like, all these things that were, like, my core that are super important to me, some of those have drifted away. So each year I get to take time and I get to really connect with what's important to me to make a shift in whatever way I'm steering my boat to make sure I'm going down the right road.
God, that's so important, man. That resonates huge with me, too. I've been working my tail off on a new business for the last 2 years, and I haven't really had a day off. And I just took a day off like a couple days ago, and I thought the same things, man. I was like, man, I really lost track of where I was going.
Yeah, it's easy, man. There's so many things going on around us.
And it wasn't just in the business part of it. It was in life. Like, in general, I was like, I need to freaking talk to my grandpa. I need to do these things. Like, I need to focus on what's important in life because when you're at the end and you're laying on your deathbed, none of that shit matters.
It doesn't.
It's the stuff that you did with people that matters.
That's right. The memories that you built.
100%. I'm glad that you understand that too, dude. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to understand that because it's just I just try to evaluate all the time. It's like, what do I really want in this life, you know?
Yeah.
And as you start checking off some of those boxes, then it's just like, okay, then what?
Yep.
And then it's just another box, right? And so, like, okay, get rid of the boxes. What's important to me? What if I didn't have this business? What if all this? Like, what's really important to me? Like, my CEO asked me this the best. It was a while back when I was going through a hard time, and he just said, if your business is taken away from you, who's Dylan? If today, you're turf distributors, you're whatever this business is, right? It's something you talk a lot about, that you're passionate about. Pull that away. Who are you? And
100%.
I'm like, it's like, shit, You give me a few days off and let me figure this out, but it's so intense each day where it just gets away from you.
It really does.
And that's when earlier I was talking about, like, some of these hard times people go through is you get the chance to really understand what's hard for you. All this stuff's taken away from you as you're supposed to pass, and you actually still have this life to live. I'm sure you get to remember going through that on, like, okay, this is how I want to live my life. This is who I am. This is what's important to me.
Do you think that a lot of people have been shown those things forcefully in the past couple of years because of the way that the world has turned?
I don't think hard enough. And so I'll get into this a little bit. There's a lot of bad shit going on in the whole world, right? In America. Right. And you have these people that are, including myself, just fighting against it. We need to keep America, keep our freedom, like all this stuff. But at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking, as bad as this is, and as much as I don't want it to happen, it's happening because of us, the people, are letting it happen because we've been so fucking spoiled. Living here, I was in the shower this morning, hot water, because I was staying at my mom's house this week, and it just reminds me of me when I was younger, staying there and just getting in the shower, warm water, all that stuff. And I'm like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah.
When's the last time I appreciated warm water? When's the last time I appreciated having a house over my head? And so many Americans and sorry guys, but so many of us, including myself, are so spoiled and so used to how things are going, we haven't faced adversity.
Yep.
Maybe what's happening supposed to happen to us so we get hit in the fucking face and we realize how good we have it, so the next generation goes and builds it up again and they're grateful for what they had. Versus the generation I grew up in, that I'm growing up in, a lot of it is it's blurred out, right?
Yeah.
You don't hear them talking about, I don't want this to happen to America, all this stuff. They're kind of out of it. They're in their zone. Dude, and the generation before, they're panicking. You know, these guys that are these people that are like 50 and up are just like, this can't happen. They're all about it because they had to fucking work their ass off to have everything they have. As our, my generation kind of have everything happen, given to them. So like, it is happening because we're letting it happen to us.
Your words couldn't resonate harder with me, man. I'm so appreciative of things like that. And we're going to obviously get into a little bit more of the stuff that I think of that every day. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm frustrated because I can't move and my body hurts so bad. And like, I mean, there's been so many times that I've felt like not wanting to be here anymore. But then again, like right after that, I'll think of something like, wake up, open my eyes, and I'll be like, you know what? This is really awesome.
That's good.
Like, I'm happy. Go take a shower. First thing I think about is exactly what you said. Thank God for warm water. Yep. We had a water heater go out the house.
Not so fun.
Sucked.
And you've had a lot of surgery, so I'm sure it aches.
Yeah, so another fun fact. So I've got so much metal in my body, in my back, and my legs and stuff. I have a massive rod in my femur in my left hip.
Yeah.
So anytime it's cold, like, when somebody puts a piece of ice down your back and you're like, woo.
Yeah.
That's the way it feels inside me.
Oh, no.
When it's cold, it's so sucky, dude.
Wow.
But so that resonates really, really strong with me. And I think that people should definitely be more appreciative of the things that they have. Like, it's phenomenal how, like, just like we said, don't fuck with the cashier,
For sure. And I mean, guys, if you can't find happiness living for yourself, there's probably a point to that, right? The happiness comes is when you live for other people, right?
100%.
So when you talked about like going through those times and, not wanting to, be there anymore.
Yep.
That I'm sure you've overcame that, but that was selfish thinking, right? You're thinking for you, the pain you're going through today, all that shit that's hard, versus now you're living your life helping other people, and that's where the satisfaction comes from.
Exactly. It makes a big difference. And, like you probably feel that way every day, like you come to work and maybe you got to have a meeting that you don't want to, but you think on the other end of it, you're like, I should be appreciative of every one of these employees that's working
right.
for me, because they're so much more important than I am to having this business function.
Yep. And the one thing that helps me do it the most is go work side by side with them.
Yeah. There you go.
That's where I was 10 years ago.
That's so cool.
And that will wake me up like, oh shit. Like this is a big thing,
Yeah.
And go hear their stories of where they're at, and then go. It's cool, man. Just being able to work with other people and getting to learn about them, and it just really wakes you up, because you get to a point, and I know a lot of people get to the point, because I've met a lot of successful people that are just not good people. They think they're God, they've made it, whatever, treat people like shit, do business like shit, and just take advantage of every situation.
Let me ask you a question then. So what's the real win? Is the real win having a successful business? Or is the real win having a successful life?
So when I look at success is what makes you happy in my view, right? So a successful life is the win. But what I've learned from me, and why I keep doing this and why I haven't sold my business, is for me to have a successful life, business is what teaches me all my life lessons to go live my successful life. I have to learn how to talk to people. I have to learn how to understand people. I have to learn how to be a leader, learn how to make hard decisions. All that shit that I don't like doing, I'm forced to do it in work so the team wins. So now when I get faced with that in my personal life, I know what to do. And if it wasn't for my having a successful business, I wouldn't know how to have a successful life. I would take the easy road and all these different things and kind of dot around it because, hey, I got millions, whatever, like I'm good, we're selling away.
Yeah.
That stops at some point.
You're totally right, man. Yeah, I guess it goes back to the thing, when you're laying on your deathbed, what do you want to be remembered by, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I look at like I wouldn't be here with you too. Like if you really think about it, like go all the way to peel this thing all the way down to the root, I wouldn't be here with you today unless it was for me having to grind it out of my business.
That's true.
You probably wouldn't be here with us today if you didn't go through the things you went through.
Yeah.
And the person listening to this show probably wouldn't have been impacted to want to continue their life to go through that hard time they're going through if it wasn't for us doing this exact thing today.
Yeah. And I hope everybody feels comfortable enough to be able to reach out to you or to myself and 100%. To be able to ask those questions, because maybe their life hasn't taken the same turn, but they're scared of it having it, or they're, something else happened to them.
Yeah.
I love hearing those stories.
Me too. Because there's a way through every single time. And it does help talking to other people that have had a story before, that have had a hard life, that have overcome it, or that is going through it. To have a partner through it will definitely help you push harder. It's like going to the gym with somebody who's in better shape than you or equal shape or whatever, that says, hey, we're going to go here for 2 hours today. You got somebody to hold you accountable to push through it. So if you guys are going through hard shit, don't try to do this alone.
Yeah. You can always lean on somebody else, that's for sure. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you've done it a few times in your life too, like going through the different things. I've had to pivot 3 times in my life, my young life. I've had to pivot 3 times, and I'm not just talking about small things like changing a job. I'm talking about massive things, like changing a life. So I was actually thinking about this the other day when I was sitting in bed, because I'm a real heavy thinker. Like I don't sleep very good because I think so much. And I was thinking to myself, like, if I were to leave tomorrow, what would I be happy with? And I said, I'd be happy with everything. Not the stuff that's been put on me, but the things that I've overcome, because I've lived enough, again, in my young life to outlast 3 or 4 people's lives.
That's amazing.
So I don't think, my mindset never goes to that place. Even if I'm pissed off, I get so pissed, but then I'll get rid of it and just let it go. It's insane to me to think that. And I mean, like, we're talking right now, and I don't feel like we're even halfway done.
Yep.
It's crazy. Got a lot more to the story.
What was the next big event for you?
So we did the X Games. That was all cool. I started training to do, well, let me talk about work stuff too. Like during that time that I went back to Arizona, again, I wanted to change. So I went back to Arizona, and I kept working with all my same clients. And during that time, I saw the merch business, which is T-shirts and CDs and all that stuff, still going really well. So we were doing web development for all of these different bands and stuff like that. So I started a distribution company. And the distribution company was, hey, do you want to sell T-shirts and stuff? We already have clients. Why can't we sell T-shirts for them? So we lined up Red Bull Records. We got all kinds of cool people that were part of the company. And we started taking, it was a 25% cut. They get 75%. With shipping and everything, it ended up being almost 33% for us.
Nice.
We had so many clients, that business grew and blew up in a year. It was awesome. I ended up selling it really quickly because I saw that Napster was going to take it out. So I ended up selling it, got a bunch of money from it, and got rid of it. But during that time, I was like, man, these businesses are like pretty cool. And
just building and selling businesses now.
Well, to a certain point, right? It's not like I'm making millions off of these companies, because it's a music industry. Like, you're not going to make a grip of money. But
yeah,
the industry is what it can support, what it can support.
I mean, it's still not easy to do, to sell any business.
No, and it's not easy to take care of employees. That's and
sure.
learn from all those people. So I was really stoked, because all of those things were monumental for me, because they were victories. And I was not only winning at certain things that I was winning at life, but I was winning at those victories. But I still wasn't really like, I wanted more time for myself, just like what you're saying, you're going to take a vacation. I said, you know what, George? I wonder if it's beneficial for you to just say, all right, go work for somebody else now. Mm. So I went and got a job at the University of Arizona. And the University of Arizona, I was the head of their biggest platforms there. And it was pretty cool. I only made 45 grand a year.
I worked with a shit ton.
I worked with all these people. I saw these infrastructures being in place, all kinds of stuff. I got awesome benefits, like you probably offer your guys here. But some of those things are learning, right? And I thought to myself, why not put myself in that position? Why not go back to being the employee, just like what you do, and when you go and put yourself in different employees' shoes. It was another eye opener for me, and I didn't necessarily like it there at the U of A. I grew out of that position really quickly. So I went and I was a lead designer because I wanted to be a little bit more creative for a software development company that made medical software. And during that time, I had just kind of finished like the dirt bike riding stuff. I was training for the X Games for the following year because I wanted redemption, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go win this motherfucker. Like, I got this. Crashed again and broke my back for the third time.
No.
So
At the X Games?
No, just practicing, getting ready, training for it. So I go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, your back is so broken now that you can't sustain another impact. Like, he's like, I might maybe be able to fix this one. So he went in there, he did all kinds of special stuff, and he fixed me. He, like, cemented my vertebrae back together, like all this crazy surgery, right?
Were you able to, like, when that happened, were you able to still move around and all that?
Dude,
it was just in pain, or?
Yeah, so this one was gnarly because I didn't lose any more function from my nerve damage, but I really fucked up my vertebrae. I actually got up off the track, had my buddies load up the bike, and drove myself back home.
Oh, God.
It sucked. It was one of the worst pains I've ever experienced, man. It sucked so bad. And then when I got home, I actually called my family on the way home, and I said, get ready because we're going to go to the hospital. Like, I'm jacked. I just fell out and landed on the ground, and I couldn't get up anymore. I was just like, it was out of me. Like, I didn't have anything left. And they took me to the hospital, and we got fixed, all that stuff. But the meaningful part of the conversation, or the part of the situation, is after I got fixed, I went to the doctor for a follow-up. My mom and my sister were there with me. And he, like I said, he goes, George, you're an idiot, dude. Like, how many times do you have to get hurt to be able to understand that this stuff's not good for you? I was looking at him when he was telling me this. I wasn't looking at my family. And the first thing that I thought was like, haha, I can still beat this. Like, I'm good. Like, you're not. And I looked at them, and they were crying. And I go, dude, you are an idiot. Don't listen to the doctor. Listen to them. Even though they're not speaking, they're telling you need to switch it up. So at that point, I go, you know what? I don't need to ride dirt bikes anymore. I need to find something that can fulfill my need for training or goals or whatever it is.
Adrenaline, too.
Adrenaline,
yeah. A big part of it.
So fast forward, I started thinking, okay, well, how can I make another mark? How can I still be the guy that shows people that they can do something that they possibly can't? Well, maybe I could ride bicycles. I've always rode bikes for training purposes. Maybe I could do some sort of endurance events. Going through a period of about 5 or 7 years, like, I started riding bicycles. I started doing events like what's called El Tour de Tucson, El Tour de Mesa. These are massive events, like 100-mile long bicycle riding events. Started being able to do that. Started gaining notoriety. And I went to a short course race with a guy named Casey Curry. I was doing web development and stuff for him at the time. He goes, you come out to the races. Check it out. So I went to a place called Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park in Phoenix, Arizona, and I saw these dudes like racing trucks. And I was like, dude, that's so sick. It's like motocross, but you're sitting down. Like,
yeah.
How did this just fall into my lap? Like, I don't have to fly off a dirt bike anymore. I can be strapped in and safe.
Like, I wish I would have heard about that a couple years ago.
This was like short course had already made, like UTVs had already started. Like,
yeah,
but to me it was like, hallelujah, like you got something else, like sweet. Then Casey has me come out to California, and I test drove his Pro Light truck, and I was like, I'm sold. Like, what does it take for me to get into this? he gives me a little budgetary breakdown, and I'm like, thanks, but I can never, ever afford this. He goes, yeah, the truck's only $45,000, but then you got a $250,000 budget for the parts for the year or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, yeah, fuck it, I'm out. Like, I can't do it. But then on the way home, I start thinking, okay, I got 8 hours. What can I do to do this? My next thing was to make a mark riding bicycles enough to be able to get sponsors to be able to pay for this, because I might be able to afford it. And just so the audience knows, like, to become a millionaire in racing, you start with $2 million.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way to make money in racing. Zero way. It doesn't matter how many sponsors you get, you're still spending your own money. So I was hooked, though. I was like, this is so sick. So I went back and I started doing these bicycle events, just kept working my ass off, doing all the business stuff. And at some point, one of my graphic design friends, Michael Weining, he actually referred me over to doing some work with Supercuts locally, which Supercuts is a haircut chain, locally in Arizona. So I said, cool, I'll go do it. And I met with them and I helped them with some online stuff that they did. And I ended up growing a good relationship with the manager of Supercuts. I think she managed 50-something branches down in southern Arizona. And we had a good relationship, you know. And I asked her probably 3 years after I was into doing these endurance events, I said, hey, if I, do some stuff for you, would you be interested in sponsoring us for the endurance events and bicycles? And I'll get a little team together and stuff. So we had all these bicycle jerseys and all these fun stuff together. But at that point, I started making money from getting sponsors. And it wasn't because they cared about winning bicycle races. It's because they cared about the story. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. I can sell the story. That's awesome, right? Like, so it's a business win and it's a personal win, and I get to help other people.
Right.
Like, it's connecting all these dots.
Right.
So fast forward, I had a goal. Within 5 years, I was going to be able to allocate enough money to be able to start an off-road racing. And luckily, in that 5-year span, UTVs came to fruition. And at the end of that 5 years, actually, I should probably step back real quick. During that 5 years, I also got an opportunity to do an Ironman. And if anybody doesn't know what an Ironman is, it's triathlon. It's swimming, bicycle riding, and running. I couldn't run, so they gave me, like, they have this, like, pushing wheelchair thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, I did that, but...
You did Ironman?
I have never, and I had never, ever competed in any type of physical activity. Like, I never swam before. I didn't know how to swim to do I still don't know what it's called to this day, the breaststroke or whatever.
Yeah.
I knew how to doggy paddle and drink beer in the pool. Like, that's all I knew.
You had to practice for this, right?
So for 2 years, I trained. I hired a swim coach. I got all this stuff, and I started training, and I started, like, figuring out how to do. I got a grant to get this crazy wheelchair. Like, I did all of this stuff to do it, and I trained for 8 hours a day every day for 2 years to be able to do it, while I worked as a software engineer for a medical insurance company. So during my lunch break, I would go on the wheelchair and go down, like, this river path in Arizona. After work, I would go swimming for, roughly 2 hours. The days I didn't swim, I would go bicycle riding for about 50 miles. The days that I didn't have to work, Saturdays and Sundays, I'd do Century bicycle rides, which is 100 miles those days. Like, it was fucking nuts, dude. But the only thing that I had in my head was not that I cared about the triathlon. I just wanted enough money to race a truck.
That's awesome.
So, again, it's that goal thing.
You're building your network right now.
It's that goal thing, though, right? It's just like I did when I didn't want to go to school, but I wanted to race dirt bikes.
Yeah, you could just kind of blur out all the pain going through it just to get to right here.
All I care about is this one thing at the end, right? Yeah, I was pretty proud of that, though. Like, that whole Ironman thing was nuts.
Yeah, that's no joke, dude.
So I got to do it. I got invited to do it. And most people, like, I was so proud of myself because most people don't get invited to do those things. You have to go put in work for 2 or 3 years to get on the list to get enrolled in an Ironman. Right. And I got invited, so I was like, I'm doing it. No idea what to expect. never done a triathlon in my life, not even done any type of running race, nothing. Show up for the day of the Ironman. Actually, this is actually a cool business thing. Before the Ironman, we did a campaign with Supercuts. If I completed the El Tour de Tucson, which is 111 miles at the time, bicycle race in under 8 hours, Supercuts, out of all those 52 branches, had to give haircuts for $8.
Really?
They lost a shitload of money because I smoked it. I got it did in like 6
awesome.
hours and 30 minutes. But it was the best marketing campaign because she told me that for the, I think it was 6 months after, that their sales were up like 27%.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because they had so much return traffic just from that one campaign.
Yeah.
It was insane cool. And she was so proud, and we had so many wins with those marketing campaigns that we did with her, that she said, you know, after you do the Ironman, let's talk again. And so I knocked out the Ironman. I had a fantastic time doing it. I think I got 6th in my division. I did it in, I can look at the picture, but it was in like, it was a 70.3, so I think it's called a half Ironman. I still don't know the terms.
But do you have to diet and everything for that?
Oh my God, dude. It was insane. Like
more insane than prepping for like motocross?
Oh, yeah, 100% more insane.
Wow.
Wait, like motocross is like nothing compared to that.
And
at least the motocross that I
gnarly.
did. Like some of the dudes now, they're pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Like they're like the Dungies and stuff. Like those dudes are pretty gnarly. So I wouldn't compare it to them. But for me, it was 10 times worse. It was so gnarly. But I did it. And like I said, I got 6th in my division. And I think I forgot how many people are at an Ironman. It's either 2,500 or 5,000. It's one of the two. And I think I got like 1,200 or something like that. Like I beat like 2/3 of the normal able-bodied people.
That's amazing.
I couldn't believe it. And I had no expectations. I just wanted to go finish it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was super cool. It was really meaningful to me. One of the crazy things that happened during the Ironman was I was still shitty at swimming. Horrible. Like I had a professional trainer. I just couldn't do it. Like these guys that are good swimmers are like still, to me, I look up to those guys.
Yeah.
They send out the handicap dudes like us before the normal pros. Like, and we're not talking like an hour before. We're talking like 5 minutes before.
Oh,
so we're all swimming in the Oceanside Harbor, and like I'm slow. I'm the slowest swimmer, right? Out of all these handicap dudes, they'd like blow the doors off me. And so all of a sudden I have 1,000, 1,200 dudes behind me swimming. It's not like swimming is an open. First of all, it's black water in the harbor.
Yeah.
And second, people are punching and kicking you the whole time.
Because it's just so tight.
And because they're so much faster. It was nuts. Like I was like, you like the water, I don't.
Yeah, I just didn't want to drown, I'm sure, at the same time.
I was pretty scared, honestly. And so like I finally make it out of the water, and everybody's looking for me because they thought I freaking drowned or died out there. They're like, where the hell is he? Like, he's so slow. And so I get out, and I'm like coughing, and like all this water's coming out because I swallowed so much water. And I get all changed, and I get on the bicycle, and I start pedaling. And I'm not feeling good because I swallowed so much water. And I keep going, and we're going through Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, and I think it's roughly 25 miles or so into the 57-mile bike ride. And I'm going up this big-ass hill. And, I mean, this hill is like, you look halfway up, you're like, oh, there's the end.
Yeah.
And you go up to that part, and then there's the end. Like, it just keeps going. It feels like the hill's growing while you're going up it, right?
Oh, no.
And all of a sudden, I see, like, these dudes are like Arnold Schwarzenegger, these chicks that are so fit. I see all of them, like, walking their bike up it. And I'm like, how are these people, like, these people are way more fit than me, and they're walking there, like, I'm doomed. So I go, all right, George, like, what are you going to do? So
I'm sure it's all mental at that point.
That's the only thing you can do, especially for a dude like me who has a 16th of the muscle that they do, right? So I start going, like, in a snake pattern up this hill.
Nice.
So I can, like, get my bicycle up the hill. And all of a sudden, my stomach's, like, not doing so hot. So I just barf all over the dudes and chicks that are walking.
Oh my
like
God.
everywhere. And first of all, that's nasty. But to me, this is a signal that I'm doing better than them.
Oh, for sure.
Like, hey, you know what? Here, take this because you're being a pussy.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one walking, not me.
Yeah.
So I throw up.
That's awesome.
I take a swig of water and I make it to the top of the hill. And I mean, this takes 45 minutes. It takes a long time. I get to the top of the hill. I slam some, you know, like a whatever energy bar, and I just start booking it. Like, I was so proud of myself at that moment. Like, it's gross that happened. It's crazy that they pulled off. But at the top of the hill, I couldn't have been more victorious in my mind.
I'm sure. That'd feel amazing.
So that was like almost as good as crossing the finish line, right?
Yeah.
And then so I just hauled ass and I started like getting my energy level back up and I started doing my thing. I was like, you know what? I'm not in the water anymore. Don't dwell on that. Think about what's going on in the future. Like, you got this. And I crushed it the rest of the time. It was pretty cool. It was really cool to see. And then when I got across the finish, I got across the finish line and saw that thing, and everybody was yelling and screaming because they were so pumped. I mean, they're pumped for everybody, right? And the support mechanisms that you have is just rad at the events like that. I crossed the finish line. The first thing I told everybody was, I'm never fucking doing this again.
I'm sure.
I took 2.5 years.
Sounds like hell, man.
I took 2.5 years of my life. Now, let's go to the taco shop and just bang some tacos. We got to get as many tacos as possible.
That's awesome.
So,
and did that help set you up for the race to get in off-road?
yeah, it really did. Like, so I went back.
You've been building your resume this whole time.
It was 4 years into it. So I beat my goal by roughly 11 months, I think it was, 4 years and a month. I went and had a meeting with Supercuts, and they said, yeah, we'll pay for half of whatever you want. During that time, I had been saving some money too. So I went over to the guys at the Rockstar Energy UTV Wolfpack here in Santa Ana. And Supercuts paid for half. I paid for the other half, and I got my first off-road car.
It's amazing.
That's crazy, dude. It's the way that it goes, man. I couldn't believe it myself. I got that off-road car, and I was like, it's on.
You didn't walk in anything. You're consistently having to put in the work to achieve what you want to achieve.
Dude,
I
feel like
let any of that stuff stop you.
I feel like dudes like you and me we should name our middle name should be putting in the work. Like,
yeah, that's right. That's cool, man. You could almost build a show and just say, this is what I want to do next. Watch me get there.
I know, right? But those victories were not small victories. I mean, they take so much effort, dude.
Yeah.
So much effort. But it was worth it because I reached my goal, and I even beat the time frame that I wanted to do it in. And I had good partners. So now Supercuts has zero interest. And now they had to get it okayed with corporate Supercuts. So now I'm at that level too, right? Like, so now we're talking to the big dogs.
Right.
But they have zero interest in off-road. Nobody cares about off-road, right? Like, Supercuts has zero interest in off-road. We got a lot more haircuts for them and generated revenue because of the things that we did and the stories that we shared.
Right.
But not because it's off-road racing.
Right.
But I got a lot of notoriety
Isn't
at the
that crazy? We are our biggest, basically, advertisement, right?
Yep. 100%.
It's not necessarily about what you're doing at the time, right? You could be, this is what I mean. You could be get number one all the time in racing, right? But if you have the best personality, best attitude, create the best story, you're going to be banking out more than everybody else.
Michael Jordan is a perfect example of that. He doesn't play basketball anymore. But who's the first person you think of when you think of basketball?
I would think of Kobe.
Well, that too. Unfortunate circumstances, but yeah. But Michael Jordan or Kobe, right? Like, you think of somebody huge like those guys. Like, so the story is what sells the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
that's why you guys got to be grateful for everything you're going through, because you're creating that story. You're creating that resume.
Dude, 100%, man. I think it's so cool and they stuck by me through all that. I mean, like, again, they had no interest in off-road whatsoever. It's not making them any money. And even on top of that, I had Supercuts all over the side of the car, right?
Yeah.
They deserve it. They're helping me do it, right? I'm doing all kinds of events for them. The off-road cars are at their retail locations. Like, there's all kinds of cool things that are going on behind the scenes. People are still walking up going, haha, you're the haircut guy. Can I get a haircut, you fucker?
Oh, God.
Like, in the pits. Like, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, first of all, that was a dick comment, but you don't understand that I just won by you saying that. You just recognized all of the effort that we put in because you came over here to tell me what a jerk I was, or a girl, or an asshole.
You recognized me, yeah.
You didn't go over there and tell the other dude he was an idiot. You didn't go over there and tell the other dude he did a good job. You singled me out because you saw me.
Right.
So I just won.
Great way to look at it.
Like,
yep.
And the great part about it is that all of the people that did care, we brought a non-endemic partner to the off-road culture. And now, like a year later, Mayim Spaccarelli brought Tonka. Like, there's all kinds of non-endemic partners that, and it's not because of me, but I'd like to think that we were a little part in showing people that they didn't have to just go over for a tire sponsor. They didn't have to just go to be sponsored by Polaris. There's other opportunities as long as you put yourself in a position to give value back to the people that are helping you.
Exactly.
And it's a teamwork, just like you do on a daily basis with your team. So it was really, really cool for me to be able to see that. We didn't create enough value for Supercuts. We ended up parting ways, mostly because the woman that helped out Supercuts split with Supercuts at the time. So I decided to take her side and leave Supercuts as well, because the corporate people wanted to split. They had different allocation of their funds.
Right.
And I asked her, the person that I was so close to with Supercuts, I said, do you think I should stay because they're still offering to support the program? She goes, George, if you want to take that money, go ahead. But I can't help you do any of the things with your story that you could before. And I said, her name was Rochelle. And I said, thank you, Rochelle, for being so honest with me. I'm not interested in the money. I'm interested in sharing the story. So I'm going to find somebody else. So we ended up splitting with Supercuts just because of that. And it was meaningful to me to have those conversations with her because the story is the most important part, right?
It is the most
That's
important
what got
part.
me to the point where I was at.
Right.
So it was cool, man. It was really cool. We had a relationship with the Rockstar Energy UTV Wolfpack for a little while. And then in 2016, we wanted to go race Yamahas because I was just a fan of the cars. In 2016, we started doing very well. I was on the podium winning races, competing against the Yamaha factory drivers. So again, I was winning because I was not only doing well, I was showcasing what you can do with disabilities. Now on the track, there's guys that are paralyzed, there's guys in wheelchairs, there's guys with missing limbs. There's so many, and not just because of me. All these people have their own stories, right? And it's awesome to see these guys.
Yeah.
Like, these are my favorite drivers. You know, like, these guys are fantastic, and I have great relationships with a lot of these guys. But I would like to think that I was a little piece of showing these people that they can do it. And now it's like an open platform.
That's really cool.
So the off-road industry has really accepted it. And I was thankful for that. To me, that was the biggest win that I could have had in the off-road world. But I did well enough to be able to start having talks with Yamaha. And towards the end of 2016, I helped them do some events and promotional work. And towards the end of the year, they asked me what I needed to compete and do my program for the next year. So in 2017, I was one of two drivers that had a partnership with Yamaha. And it was fantastic to me to be able to have seen all of the hard work, the business acumen that I learned over the years, the
network that you built, I'm sure, as well.
The network that I built, and the philanthropy that we were putting out was making enough of a difference.
Doesn't the work feel so good? Like when you put in the work and then you get that result, isn't that like the best feeling?
I can definitely agree with that, but I think that any champion or motocross guy or basketball player will tell you it's short-lived.
It is short-lived. Same things in business.
Yeah.
You smash this year's goal. Okay. Yeah. Year 2 or this month or this week. Yeah. It's keep stacking and building from there.
So you know, we had some fantastic relationships and goals that we did with Yamaha. They used me for good stuff that I was good at, just like you use your employees. You know, put people in good positions, right? We had a freaking horrible year. We lost like 7 motors. We didn't have any results. I mean, like I might have got on the podium twice.
Yeah.
Horrible year in 2017. Our pit activation was the biggest out of almost all of the UTV pits at any race. We had so many people there. I mean, I didn't even have any free time. We had RC cars for kids. We had popcorn for the adults. We had, you know, free Yamaha. So we had all kinds of stuff.
Amazing.
We brought all kinds of Yamaha parts for all the Yamaha amateur drivers. Like we were a huge mechanism for that racing season.
It's amazing.
It was super cool. And
were you keeping on all 4 wheels at that time? You're done with bikes.
Yeah. Yep. All 4 wheels. Yeah.
Was it safer? Did you make it through?
We still crashed. I mean, you crash, but you don't get hurt as bad. Like it's a lot easier.
So your hospital visits at this point, you're done. You're moving on through your racing career.
At that, but yeah, 2019 we'll talk about. But yeah, I was doing really well at that time. Yeah, it was nice and smooth. Like I mean, like I said, we crashed. We had to fix a car or something, but it's not like I'm getting hurt. Like,
what happened in 2019? I'll
tell you in a second. So let's keep going with 2017 for right now. So like during that time, I want to talk about the business stuff because that's really important.
Yeah.
We had very low results, and I could see during conversations that I was having with Yamaha that I needed to do something else. We started doing social media campaigns with promoting content. I started going to events and creating events with Yamaha in Southern Arizona. We ended up moving the top selling district from Southern California to Southern Arizona for that type of vehicle because of all of the promotion and events and things that we were doing.
That's great.
It was fantastic. I mean, millions and millions of dollars in sales. And so we paid them back. I mean, like we did well.
That's good.
So my results may not have showed. They had other Yamaha drivers on the podium. They're winning in both fronts.
Yeah, you're still putting in the work for them and making sure the partnership works.
But I wasn't the douchebag that was just taking.
Right.
I was making sure that I gave back no matter what. Even if I wasn't winning at the races, I was still working my ass off for them.
Yep.
And I still had to support myself. I was still working a job. I was still working 40 hours a week. I'm putting in almost 80 hours a week, 80 hours of work time to ride 15 minutes on the track for a race. And I'm still working a 40-hour week. So we're working our asses off, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing all these events and stuff. It's crazy because everybody thinks, a sponsor is going to get me to where I need to go. Again, if you want to be a millionaire off-road, you start with 2. Never going to make any money, any motorsport, right?
Yeah.
You just have to work your ass off because it's your dream. That's it. There's very, very few people in any sport or hobby or motorsport that make money doing that. As long as you know that you're doing it for your dream and because you want to do it, that's all you have to be worried about, and that's a success. That's why I asked what success was earlier.
Yeah, that's
because
a true statement.
You have to be confident in what you're doing. And then so I learned a lot from that year because it showed me a few different things. It showed me that the hospitality was really important because that's what sold vehicles. It showed me that if I did something the following year, like 2017. In 2017, I was going to cut back my racing and start doing more events and more things that I was going to be more of a benefit to some of the people that were supporting us.
Right.
Like Yamaha and different people, right? But, I mean, it was fantastic, but I lost the racing edge, you know what I mean? And so I kind of just like let it go. We just started doing those events and stuff. And then in 2019, I kind of wanted to start sparking it up again. And so we did a project car that's called the Unicorn. And the Unicorn signifies, for me, something that I wasn't supposed to be able to do. Unicorns are non-existent, right? So the Unicorn for me is something that I'm never, ever supposed to be able to do. I was never supposed to be riding a bicycle. I was never supposed to be doing an Ironman. I was never supposed to be racing an off-road car. I was never supposed to do the X Games. The doctor walked in and told me that I was supposed to be in a wheelchair, and I told him, fuck you. Like, again, that's why it was so important for me to see that at that time. Because look at what the next 10, 15, 20 years did, right? Like,
crazy.
Massive, right? And so in 2019, I wanted to spark it up again. We started building the Unicorn. It was a project car that we had all of these supporters build with us. And it got more notoriety than even my racing did because it was such a significant car. And the platform behind it was because I was never supposed to be able to do any of this stuff, let alone use my legs and arms to drive a sequential gearbox vehicle. And I could do it at a professional level with the top drivers in the world. So that's my Unicorn.
That's cool.
So still to this day, it sits in the garage. It's a garage queen now, but we still drive it every now and then. But it was fantastic because it was a launching platform for something special. And a lot of people liked it. I mean, even in different countries, they were stoked on it, right?
That's amazing.
And it got to showcase a lot of cool products as well. And so we wanted to take that to the 2019 UTV World Championships in Laughlin, Nevada. The car got a bunch of exposure. We got a bunch of exposure. We went through all these tech and contingency and did all this fun stuff. We had some problems with the suspension. Couldn't get it figured out. So I lost a lot of sleep. I didn't sleep the night before the race, maybe 2 hours. And so I woke up in the morning. I was really tired.
Because it was dangerous, or it was going to cost you the race because your suspension wasn't set up to win it?
Both, because we had to do so much tuning on it. I had to actually rebuild the shocks about 2:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning before the race. So there was a bunch of different stuff. It just made it so I didn't sleep. In racing, everybody has to do that, right? I mean, how many nights have you spent even outside of racing at the office and not got a wink of sleep because you got a deadline,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
So we had a racing deadline. Woke up in the morning, took off, got a really shitty start. Like, I was basically sleeping on the whole shot. But I ended up passing a whole bunch of people, and I think I worked up into somewhere in the top 5 or so. And this is probably going to get me to tear up, but I go around a corner, and one of the drivers in front of me brake checked me and kind of clipped my front wheel. So I got it up on the bicycle. And what the bicycle is when you're driving a car or an off-road car is you get kind of up on 2 wheels.
On the side.
Yeah, on the side, and you kind of go around. And so I bicycled it on the side, and it's pretty common. And I couldn't, like, there was a little berm on the outside, and I couldn't correct to get back into it and put it on 4 wheels. And I just barely tilted it on its side enough where it stuck. And so I, like, tipped over on its side. And I go, oh, shit, you know, like, now, like, I'm not going to be able to win this year, but I'd still like to finish. So I saw that there was a photographer and, like, some other people. They were, like, flagging, saying, okay, you know, don't get out of your car yet. Get out of your car. Like, what, you know, tell me what to do. So I stayed in the car for what felt like a couple minutes. It was probably only a few seconds, but I waited until the coast was clear. I got out of the car, and I walked. The car is still in the middle of the track, and I walked to the side of the race course. Sat there for a little bit, waited again, and it looked like it was clear, so didn't hear anybody coming. And so I went back down, and I was like, maybe I could push it over. I'll try. And I'd try to push it back on its 2 wheels. It was too heavy, so I said, all right, I'm going to walk back. My race is over. Like, I'll walk to the side of the track and just wait till the crew comes and gets me. As I was walking to the side of the track, a dude came over, and he cleared me. And I didn't see him. It was quiet. And he came over and he cleared me, but some dude was right behind him, smashed into the back of him. And my car was sitting up on its side. I don't know which camera is looking at us, but my car was sitting up on its side like this. And I was walking this way. And as I was walking this way, the other car came and smashed into me.
No.
And smashed me between my car and, you know where you put your arm in your car, like if you're holding it, like outside the window? There's big metal bars in race cars, big metal tubular bars. And that tubular bar hit me. I went through his window net, and it hit me between my neck brace and my jaw.
Oh, my God.
And shattered my jaw, my skull, my eyes fell out of my head, crushed my collarbone, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
The fuck?
It was so gnarly. And this is stuff that I don't necessarily like talking about because, first of all, it's gross. Second of all, it's traumatizing. But third, it's because there was another person involved, right? The other person told me that I died in his lap. I came through the window net and I was dead in his lap. He said there was blood all over the place. The only thing that he could do, because he had me squished between my car and his car, was pull to the side, and I fell on the ground. When I fell on the ground, unfortunately, a couple of other people ran over me. But I think when somebody ran over me, it actually woke me up. So when I woke up, going through all this stuff in motocross, if you break your ankle, you take off your boot right away because it's going to swell up and it's going to be hard to take off your boot. So when I woke up, I was like in so much fucking pain. So much. I mean, my head is like, my eyes aren't even in my head anymore. I'm just fucking hurting, right? And I can't see anything and I can't hear anything because everything is crushed. Like my ear canal, everything is crushed. And so all I do is I go, what the hell is wrong? Like, I'm trying to do an inventory so I can figure out what's going on. And so I take off my gloves and I put my arms up to my chin, and I'm like, that's liquid. Like, what the fuck is that? I can't taste or anything. So I was like, what the fuck is that? So I like figure out like what it is, and I'm like, that's fucking blood, dude. Like,
you can't see and hear at the time.
Nothing. I still can't see out of this eye.
And so you're feeling.
Yeah, like at that point, it's like, what do you do, right? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm so fucking scared. Like, I can't. Nothing is real. And so, like, this blood is just pouring out of me. Like, and so I don't know what to do. So I start like putting my hands on the ground and like reaching for stuff. And I start crawling, like, I don't know, like towards wherever I'm going. Luckily, I've crawled like 3 feet, 4 feet, and I felt my car. And I had remembered, I don't know if it was still in the same position that it was, but I had remembered what position it was on the track beforehand. So I had at least some cognitive resources in my mind. So I was like, okay, this is the bottom of it, so I'm protected if I'm over here on this side. So I went to that side of my car, and I took off my helmet because I didn't think I was going to be able to get my helmet off because I knew my head was going to swell. So it's like, I probably have a better chance of not dying if I take off my helmet now. So I took off my helmet and I just leaned up against the roof of my car, like basically dying. And so as I was sitting there, I was just bleeding all over the place. Couldn't see, couldn't hear anything. I don't remember anything else after that. But a guy named Brett Carpenter had never raced a UTV in his life. He's now the race team manager for Polaris Industries. He stopped and helped me. And I still to this day consider him my grace from God, my angel.
That's amazing.
Because he stopped to help me. Everybody else just drove by. So talk about a societal impact, right? I don't know what I would have done in that situation, but everybody else there, other than that one person, Brett, was selfish that day. Not because it was me, because if it was somebody else, they would have still done the same thing. I'm not saying it because I'm mad at any of them.
Right.
But that's our society today, right? You see somebody on the side of the road, you drive by. You see somebody walking and fall down, you walk by. You know, that's the way that we live. That's the world that we live in now. So to this day, I still have the most love and appreciation for that one genuine human move that he did, because that could have been the end of me right there.
Wow.
So
what a good guy.
All
Basically
of
just quit his race to make sure somebody is okay. And
I got a funny story about that though. So they load me up and they get me going. He continues on his race and wants to do at least one more lap. He tips over himself.
Oh no!
So
all right, I'm done.
I still give him shit. I'm like, you don't know how to drive, fucker. But that's the most amazing thing, right?
Before this, I was going through your social media and I saw that picture, you trying to work out of the hospital, just all messed up.
Yeah. So that was mostly 2019 stuff. And so I don't know, because I don't remember anything until I got to UMC Medical Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. But I was told all this stuff. I was there lifted by health. First of all, I was tended to by the safety team, which I still thank those guys. I walk up to them at every race and thank them and tell them how much I appreciate them. They tended to me. They sent me in the chopper. My girlfriend at the time went with me. They took me to Bullhead City. Bullhead City wasn't a trauma center, so they sent me away again, and I went up to Las Vegas. During that time, I don't remember anything. They said that I wasn't very coherent. I was just out of it, right? So I get to UMC, and God, like these times are so difficult for me to handle. Like,
I couldn't imagine. It's your third.
I tell everybody, like, again, there's people that are going through so much worse. Like, if I saw a family member going through this, I would feel worse, right? I'm glad it was me, not somebody else. But I don't want to compare my injury to anybody, but it was so horrible that it made me breaking my back and getting paralyzed. It made that feel like an ant bite.
Wow.
It was so fucking bad, man. And so, dude, I'm like shaking right now thinking about it. I go through the hospital and I go through all the things, and you have this stuff, what's called spinal fluid. Spinal fluid coats, it's like a padding for your skull, between your brain and your skull. It's a little thin film of fluid. I had broken everything and damaged all my nerves and my cranial system so much that spinal fluid was leaking. And it still leaks a little bit to this day, but it was leaking so much that they couldn't do surgery because they wanted to see if the spinal fluid would stop leaking, because if it doesn't stop leaking, you die. So it has to.
Whoa.
So before they plug it up, and if they plug it up, then they might plug it up and you get overflowed or whatever, overfilled, and you die, right? So there's a lot of complications that come with it. So I'm in the worst pain of my life. They're able to give me painkillers, but only so much, because they have to control the swelling and they have to do all of these medical things. I had to sit there for I don't even know how many days until that spinal fluid stopped.
It's just a massive pain every single minute.
It was fucking horrible, dude. Horrible.
What
imagine,
so
like,
not going through that. What can I, like, what would it relate to? Like, what do you
imagine
think the feeling
being
would be?
in a mafia video, and you know when they put somebody's head in a vice?
Oh God.
But imagine that vice being cranked down, open and cranked down, where your eyes fall out of your head for, I think it was like over a week.
Oh.
It was fucking horrible. It was so fucking horrible, man. I was so lucky, and again, it goes back to your team and your supporters, that I had people that cared about me around me. To this day, I'm still addicted to orange soda because my sister gave me orange soda with a syringe into my mouth so I could barely suck it down. It was insane. I mean, like, I couldn't eat. I couldn't use the bathroom. I couldn't do anything. Like, when your head is that crushed, like, you have zero function.
Oh yeah, you're just laying there.
You can't move. Like, it was so, I mean, you could see some of the pictures, man. Like, my face looked like somebody just shifted everything in it. Like, oh, it was.
God.
So anyways, they start fixing me up. They do surgery. Like, you know, one thing I should probably bring up too, that we're in such a social media centric era these days. I posted a couple of videos of me at the hospital because that was like my lifeline. And I was like, I'm doing better today. Even though I wasn't, today's a good day. I was looking out the window. I couldn't see anything. All I could do was see like white instead of black. And so I'd turn my head and I would do these things. And like, those videos got tens of thousands of views, right? I can post a video about me climbing up Mount Everest and get 100 views. I think it's so fucked up that people have that viewership and that voyeuristic ability to do that.
Do you think the video was like the video of the crash? Was it the crash in the hospital?
It was in the hospital, dying in the hospital.
Do you think they're sharing it to get like more prayers out for you though, or
no? Because people were commenting fucked up stuff too. Like there was a lot of people that were really concerned, of course, but some people were like, "Oh, this is fake. Quit being a pussy." Like whatever. Like it's so horrible. But the only reason I wanted to bring it up was because I think everybody that looks at social media, no matter who it is, your dad, your mom, your little sister, make sure that your reality around them shows them the difference in what they should and shouldn't be consuming on social media. I was putting it out there for a purpose that I thought was good. And I tracked my whole journey until this date, until today. I still do it. And there's so many people that have gotten positivity from it. But the reason that I'm bringing it up is because the negative impact that I felt during that time when there was so many assholes was pretty detrimental to what I was thinking. And I'm very lucky that I had the support mechanisms I did at the time, because they made it understandable for me that that stuff didn't matter. So it was really, really crazy.
That's deep.
So anyways,
I can't believe that.
I don't know, man. It just gives another perspective on society, right? The dude yelling at the cash register, or the cash register woman. It's so different. I just think people should support each other.
Agreed, 100%. You never know what the other person's going through.
Absolutely, and it doesn't matter if they're in a hospital bed or if they're sitting next to you at work.
Right.
It's the same thing. Just be a fucking nice person. It goes a long way. You'd be surprised, because all those nice people I'm still friends with to this day. So, so it was gnarly, man. And they bolted me back together. I still have a bunch of metal in my face. I got a plate behind my eye. I got all these plates in my chin and stuff, and my jaw. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, my sister even got a tattoo of my shattered skull on her arm. I have an artist drew a picture of me with a shattered skull, like painted on a canvas, like. So there's a lot of positive, monumental things that have happened during that time because of those really good support mechanisms.
Did you, from this point, are you done dirt bikes, done off-road?
The only thing I could focus on, dude, was a day-to-day basis. Like, it was so gnarly.
You were just focused on surviving at that point.
That's it. And so do you know what an NDE is?
No.
A near-death experience. So we talked about me getting my legal rights read to me. I didn't really die those times, right? Like, they legally said that I was dead because they didn't know if I was going to make it. Like, so I don't know, whatever, it's insurance. I don't know what they have to do. This time it was different. I don't remember how many days. I think it might have been 3-4 days after I got into UMC Medical Center in Las Vegas. I was sitting there. Or laying in bed, and I had the shittiest nurse. She was this Filipino lady, and I don't mean that as a profiling comment.
Right.
She was just a really bad person, and I remember it vividly because she talked to me like I couldn't understand her because she talked so fast. And she was so horrible. I would ask her for something and she would just tell me to like fuck off pretty much. Like it was terrible. I felt like I was in a freaking third world prison kind of thing. And I remember sitting there or laying there in bed, and it was in the middle of the night, and I'm just like laying there and I'm thinking about all the bad stuff, right? 'Cause you can't get out of your head at that time. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a second here. Like, I can breathe pretty good right now. And this is before I've had surgery on my face or anything. I'm like,
yeah.
I was like, I can breathe pretty good. Like, what's going on? And like, all of a sudden, like, I'm just laying there and I'm like, she didn't give me any pain medicine, but I don't really feel much. Like, I feel pretty good. Like, my whole life I've been hurting. My back's broke, my arm, like all this stuff's broken, but now I don't feel any pain. What's wrong? Like, I feel freaking good now. And all of a sudden, like, I have this like euphoric feeling, like it's like I took the biggest breath of my life and everything was clear, coherent, like I was vivid. I could see. I couldn't see or hear before then. I could, like, everything was there. And I was like, this feels great. I would have no problem living like this for like, or being like this for the rest of my life. Like, and then I just like, at the moment I was like, not scared, not happy, not unhappy. I just felt the most euphoric feeling.
Just in peace, or?
I don't even know what to call it, dude. Like, to this day, I still feel like an idiot talking about it, because the next thing I'm going to say, it feels like I'm talking from a movie, like I watched a movie. But I saw myself, like, there in the hospital bed, broken with a smile. Like, I was, like, looking at myself from some other position, like, and I was like, he looks so peaceful. Like, that's amazing. And this feeling, I still, to this day.
Were you dead?
Hold on. So to this day, there's no drug in the world that could ever make you feel like that. And then the next thing I heard was monitors going beep, 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 beep. And her assistant come in and go, he's back, he's back.
No way.
And I go, what do you mean I'm back, dude? Like, I turned to him, like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm back. He's like, yeah, you were dead. And I go, dead? What do you mean? Like, I had zero idea what was going on. And then so that horrible nurse walks in. He goes, what do you want me to do? Do we need to call this in? Like, what should I do? She goes, no, he's fine. He's alive. Just get back to work or whatever. I don't know what she told him. Like, fuck, man. It was so crazy to me. And I still, like I said, I feel like a weirdo talking about it. Because I think, like, I think when people tell the story, like they have an out-of-body experience or whatever, I think it's like so far-fetched. Like, you're living in a movie, right? But I don't know how to explain it to other people what it feels like. But now, every single thing that happens in my life, everything, is for a reason. I lived in Arizona at the time. Now I live in Temecula. There's always an owl right next to my window when I sleep.
Really?
Always. There's always birds flying over me, looking, like, come past me. Like, not even to the point where, like, they're coming over you and you're like, dude, I hope they don't shit on my car. Like, they come over me and it's like they're waving. Like, it's, dude.
That's amazing.
I feel like an idiot, like I said, talking about this stuff.
No, not at all.
This is the way that the world changed for me. And so everything in my life, the people, all my surroundings, the way that I conduct business, like, I try not to have set meetings anymore for work that just involve a conference room. I try to have them involve a conference room, maybe some donuts, maybe go to a taco shop, because I don't care what the outcome is for the meeting anymore as much as I care about how happy that person is when they leave.
That's amazing.
So it's really crazy because I don't know how to explain it, dude.
You just did. You did a good job explaining it.
I don't know. I just feel like an idiot. Like, I feel like people don't believe that story.
It doesn't matter what they think, right?
It's crazy for me.
That is crazy. Not many people get to experience that.
I don't know if I want people to, man. It's fucked up. The euphoric feeling, that was awesome. It felt really good. But to get to that point, not so much.
When you came back, were you happy or upset?
I don't really know that I understood it at that point, like until the next day, because I feel like they just drugged me up and put me back to being, what's it called when you're medicated?
Anesthesia or something?
No, like when you're medicated, I don't know. I was just on painkillers again, like when they just gave me pain medicine and I just went back to like being out of it.
Jeez.
So it was pretty messed up. But anyways, so to go on with the story, they got me through surgery. They fixed me up as good as they could.
Were you just were you tripping out? But you had to be tripping out a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, you remember when I told you there's been a lot of times that I felt like not being around anymore?
Yeah.
Those are a lot of the times, dude.
I'm happy you're around.
I'm happy I'm around too, man. Thank you. But yeah, so when going through all that stuff, I mean, there was so many medical things. I mean, there's so many little victories and there's so many losses and there's so much shit that happens during that time. But
you're physically going through these, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting my hearing back. I'm able to see. I'm able to walk.
Those all came from mostly professionals, not because of my healing power, so to speak. Like I said, I still can't see out of my right eye. I got a decent amount of vision through my left eye, maybe like 80%. My hearing came back. I had to have tons of operations on my face, and they had to drill out both of my ear canals. I no longer have ear bones. I have titanium plates and resonators and stuff inside my ears so that I can hear. So like what you hear and what I hear are completely different. Like to me, the whole world is a fish tank. And it's like, you know, when you hit a fish tank and you hit it from the outside, it sounds like glass, but you hit it from the inside and it sounds different. Or like in a pool.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like for me. So
you went through like almost all the pain a bodies can go through.
I don't know what else I could break, dude, except for my humerus. But yeah, it was really hard. And during those times, I mean, I flew to Texas. I went to so many different professionals because the medical industry is so complicated. I saw so many doctors that go, no, you're good. We could put a hearing aid in. You could do this. You could do that. And it's like, no, motherfuckers. I already told one doctor to fuck off 20 years ago.
Basically got to direct him and go find the doctor that's going to help you.
I felt like I was my own doctor at that point. You know?
That's what's scary, right? Is kind of talking about somebody tells you something and that's what you believe. Even the medical field's doing that. And you're having to take the matter in your own hands to go find the right doctor to get you the result you want.
It was about 30 or so. Like, it was so messed up. The amount of time that we spent, again, the support mechanism, getting the opportunities to see these doctors and hoping that they would take insurance or cash was just phenomenal. Luckily, we did find people that were there to help. And I'm glad that I didn't stop and push. But all of this goes back, man, to the things that I learned in business and in life, and to never quit and take no for an answer. It was still so monumental when I said F you to the guy that told me that I wasn't going to be able to walk again, because that directed the rest of my life. And so I'm going through all this stuff, and I had so many days, man. I mean, like, still to this day, I have gnarly days, right? Like, I'm going back in December because I'm going to ask the lead doctor that was helping my recovery program in Arizona. I'm going to ask him if I can have all these plates removed because it's so fucking painful. Like, it feels like I still have my head in the vise, you know? Like, so we'll see what happens, but it's going to be something that I have to deal with for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? So when somebody says, my job sucks, I just go, dude.
You have no idea.
Please take a step back and look at your surroundings and your reality. Don't even have to look at me. Don't even use me as the baseline. Just look at the good shit in your life. and focus on that and do better at work, because you're the one that can change it. Not your boss, not your coworkers. It's you. You're the one that can change it.
It's amazing.
Just like I had to change who I was being seen by to get fixed. I couldn't leave it up to those doctors, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here with you.
That's right. Do you believe one of the reasons you're still alive and you're here is to help other people get through some of the similar stuff that they might be quitting on?
I don't want to.
You're a strong motherfucker. From what I'm getting from this.
I appreciate it. I really do. Like, those words resonate like you have no idea. But I don't want to ever put myself in a position where I think I'm here for a reason, because I don't want people to think that I think I'm better than me. I'm just a normal dude from a small town in Arizona. I will always be that. But whatever I've gone through, as long as I can share the story and share some positivity with people, I hope that by itself is enough to make somebody else happy, because that means more to me than anything else going on around.
That's right. And a lot of people need it. A lot of people need to hear this, because they don't. I have never met anybody who's went through what you're talking about today, and I can guarantee you something. The next time I go through what I think struggle, I'll be able to go back and remember our conversation today and the stories and stuff, and really understand how grateful I am to be here and have what I have.
Well, thank you.
Today you've impacted me.
I appreciate that.
I guarantee you've impacted everybody else who's listening.
Well, I appreciate it, because you've let me share my story too. So I do hope it helps people. I still think, as far as to get a little deeper into your question about me being here for a different reason, I still think that the book is yet to be written. I still think we're on the final chapters, of course, but there's a lot of stuff that has come from that mental viewpoint that I just started with and that I've grown into now. I talked before about being selfish as a racer. Now I'm the most unselfish human being. Like, I don't care about money. I care more about sandwiches and lunch with my friends than I care about anything else.
It's amazing.
But that mindset has led to a bunch of positive things that have happened. Just like you saying to be patient before. Be nice, and that comes back 1,000,000 times fold.
Yeah.
All of the times that I've had meetings since I've moved to Southern California, I haven't had a meeting where I go in looking for a partnership or for money. I've had a meeting to go and eat tacos with somebody, to have a sandwich with somebody, to see how somebody's day was going. And then usually that turns into something like a call 2 weeks later saying, hey, what are you doing? Let's go eat tacos again. I want to talk to you about what you had said
That's
before
amazing.
about the business stuff that you were working on. So the approach, the love, and the compassion that we're getting now.
You go in for the care of somebody, and in return you're taken care of.
That's a really good way to put it.
Without that even being the purpose, right? You just go in for the care of somebody, and your life's fulfilled.
That's a really good way to put it, yeah. You know, one of my favorite places to have a meeting, I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a place called Yellow Deli. It's in Valley Center.
Yeah.
You can't get cell phone service there hardly. It's out in, like, you're basically eating in the trees. Like, it's a super cool place. I'm not going to talk about what they do there, but it's a super cool place to eat. That's where I like to have a lot of meetings, because you don't talk about work there. You talk about life there. And when you talk about life, you connect with people. And when you connect with people, it usually means that something positive is going to happen at some point. And so my goal now with the businesses that I'm working on now is not to satisfy business deals. It's to satisfy and be with the people that can work together for a long time in the future. Because all of the things that I want to do, I want to make sure that even if that person has no ability in the future to help me out,
Yeah.
that I can still call them to vent to, have tacos with, whatever it is.
For sure.
just like the things that you're talking about, you do with some of your business partners.
That's amazing. Earlier you said you're a man of faith as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just reading the Bible. That's the new book I'm reading, right? So I'm into reading a book and self-development and stuff, and I heard on a podcast people like the Bible's the best book to read, so I'm reading the New Testament, and it talks about Jesus was telling this guy to go walk to another town, but he said, hey, don't bring your walking sticks, don't bring your clothes, and don't be afraid. I'll provide.
It's crazy, right?
And then you kind of look at some of these things that you're going through in your life and how you're focusing on the people, and then you're provided for.
Yeah.
It's just amazing on how that, I'm not saying you guys listening are people of faith or whatever, but you go read the book, man. It's pretty amazing when you read the book and you look at life and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, whether that's your belief or not, like I said before, just be a nice person, man, because that comes back tenfold. If you care about other people, they'll care about you.
That's right. And we all need help at some point.
Dude, absolutely. And in business, this goes a long way too, because if we're getting out of the emotional context that we're kind of in right now, like, you never know. Dylan may sell his company tomorrow, and down the road he works at Price Club or Sam's Club, and you already know that you're going to be a really good employee because you know all the things that matter for the people there, right?
Yep.
And now all of the people that work here might go follow you over there. Like,
That's
you
right.
never know what changes are in the future. It has no bearing on the things that you're doing right now, or the only bearing that comes from within you right now is how nice you are to those people. Because
go ahead, sorry.
No, please.
Yeah, and even if that person doesn't respect it, right? If you're being nice to somebody and they don't respect what you're doing or what you're saying, that doesn't mean stop and try to be a bad person or try to be the cool person. If you focus on doing good for other people and always being that, doesn't necessarily even have to be the positive person in somebody's life, but always be that good spirit, it will come around, and it's just a matter of time.
100%. And I promise you that it will come around. During those times, like, have you ever seen a person that, like, walks up to you and says, hey, how you doing? But the only reason they said that is because they were wasting breath and didn't want to sound like an idiot.
For sure. They were trying to kill an awkward moment.
I can tell you right now that if I open my mouth to ask you how you're doing, it's because I want you to answer how you're doing. I want you to tell me if you're having the worst fucking day on the planet, the best day. I want you to tell me if your kid, tried to kick you in the nuts this morning, like whatever it is, because I genuinely want to know what is going on with you and how you're doing.
Yeah.
But most people in society these days have no fucks to give.
How do you think they could learn that? Like how growing up in a society, like how do you change that, right?
I've had this discussion with so many people, dude, and like, to be honest, I have no answer for it.
I literally think it's getting rid of the cell phone.
Maybe.
For a month or 2 months. Like because you're not looking at it in the computer, right? You're not able to scroll and kind of consume your mind. You're going to be bored and then have to pick up or go talk to somebody, right?
Yeah,
Walk
maybe.
in the store and just have conversation, just like back in the day when we were kids.
Yeah.
There's not all this stuff that consumes you. It's like, shit, I'm bored. Let me go see a buddy and go ride dirt bikes or go do something.
It starts real world human interaction at that point. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a fantastic thing for parents to implement. But the truth of the matter is I don't know if that type of stuff can happen. All I'm saying is, like, during these times, like, if we're using this on a business context, be a nice person and it'll go a long way in business. Don't go with selfish goals. Don't go with just money in mind, like you said.
Yeah.
Go with helping people, providing employment, partnering up with other companies to help them, providing value. Like, there's so many things that you can use just in a positive mindset.
Yeah.
So
because if you don't do that, you get short-term success and you fall right on your ass. I've seen it.
Oh yeah.
Every single time.
You get the selfish motherfucker that thinks he's making moves and he's not.
Yep, doing it all by themselves.
That's the exact dude on all these Instagram things that says, I don't want to work. You don't have to work either. You can come get my book. It's like, no, motherfucker. Hard work is what wins.
That's right. And that's the only way, dude.
That's it. But yeah, so talking about work and stuff, like, I'm so appreciative of opportunities like this to, help support your show, to meet you, and to have all these different people around me that are supporting, because now people that I didn't know may have care. And it's cool because now we have a little podcast that we do similar to yours, and we interview a lot of people, and all those people are really love having conversations about certain things. And another business that I'm working on is trying to get leg braces produced to help people too. And
that's amazing.
I think that business model will be very successful because it's not money first; it's humans first.
It's changing people's life, like actually changing their life.
Yeah, and if anybody's seen it, we have patents pending, so don't try to copy it.
Yeah. That's so cool, man. So you're exactly doing that. You're spending your time helping people and serving people now.
I hope so. With the business, you never know where it's going to go. You always got to just take it day by day and step by step. But I really do think that there's some positivity that could come from it, and I think that it will help a lot of people. And I mean, just yesterday, walking across the street, I saw a lady coming out of I think it was Bed Bath & Beyond or something, and she had leg braces that were very similar to the leg braces that I wear, and they were haggard, bro. I thought in my head, I go, another business idea. Drive around a van wherever you go and have leg braces sitting there so you can give them to her and she can take them to her doctor.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
You know what I mean? Like, because there was
some sexy looking leg braces too.
Yeah, dude, carbon fiber, man. So I think there's a lot of stuff that can happen, and I hope that with the mindset that I have, the business acumen that I've learned in the past and the way that I'm approaching things, I hope that it'll be really beneficial for people to understand that it's not a business just to make money, that it's a business to really, really make a difference.
I could see it. I mean, there's you've been through plenty of businesses now, right? Started businesses, you sold
maybe
some businesses.
Too many, right?
And now you're really on something to help people that have lived in those same footsteps as you. So I think that's amazing.
I appreciate it.
And I'm sure you're going to carry a lot of great passion behind that.
I hope so. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how I'm not the hugest fan of the medical industry, so we'll see how I get along with some of those people in sales.
Oh, you'll work it. I'm sure you'll figure it out just fine.
Yeah. Thanks.
George, so where could our audience connect with you?
If they want to connect personally, it's just at George Hammel, GeorgeHammel on Instagram.
Perfect. And I'll be sure to tag George on the post when we put this thing up. George, thank you so much, brother.
I really appreciate it, man. You got me out of my shell a little bit, so I can't wait to share this.
You crushed it. It was amazing. So just to let you guys know, I talked to George for 10 minutes, right? Before this, he got here, asked if you want to do this downstairs, you want to come upstairs. I got, fuck that, let's go upstairs. George comes upstairs, sit down for about 10 minutes, start learning about a few different stories, and I'm like, whoa, this is deep. And then we get in the show, and I've sitting here with you, and you could probably see me I'm kind of lost for words as we're going through it, because it is some of the first times I'm getting to hear this story, and I know it could be very hard for you to come here and be vulnerable and be real and walk us through exactly the steps that you lived in. And it's not only made an impact in me, I guarantee it's going to make an impact in many lives. So,
well, I appreciate it, man. This is the first time I've been able to open up like this. I'm surprised I didn't cry.
You crushed it.
But I hope that it leads to a little bit more of my self-growth.
Yeah.
Because I was able to open up. You Dr. Phil'd me, bro.
I don't know what I did, man. I was just asking some questions.
But no, I really do appreciate it, because this is an exercise for me too.
That's good. I'm glad. It was great to meet you.
You as well. Thanks, Dylan.
All right, guys. Do good. Thank you.